gotta make sure I get in here. Okay, we ready? I'd like to call this meeting to order at 6:30 p.m. and I'll call on Councillor Didivitis to read the land acknowledgement.
Thank you. The city of Thorold is situated on treaty land. The land is steeped in the rich history of the First Nations, such as the Haudenosaunee, Haudenosaunee, and the Anishinaabe, including the Mississauga of the Credit First Nations. There are many First Nations, Métis, and Inuit people from across Turtle Island that live and work in Niagara today. The city of Thorold stands with all Indigenous people, past and present, in promoting the wise stewardship of the lands in which we live.
Thank you, Councillor. Are there any declarations of interest? Seeing none, adoption of the agenda. I propose the agenda be adopted with the following amendments: that item 9.3, a presentation regarding water, wastewater, and stormwater management master plans, be moved up and heard before item 9.2, the parking master plan presentation. And that item 12.2, report PWCS 14-2026 regarding the water, wastewater, and stormwater master plans be heard immediately after that presentation. Can I get a mover and a seconder as amended? I got Councillor Sentence and Councillor O'Hare. All those in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Adoption of the minutes. The open and closed minutes of the council meeting held on Tuesday, March 24th, 2026. Can I get a mover and a seconder? I got Councillor D'Angela and Councillor Decker. And are there any errors or omissions? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. Mayor's remarks. On March 24th, I attended the annual Top Hat ceremony that took place at the St. Catharines Museum and Welland Canal Center located at Lock 3 of the Welland Canal. The St. Lawrence Seaway's 68th navigation season opening was celebrated with the transit of the MV Northern Venture, owned and operated by McNeil Marine Limited. On Wednesday, March 25th, I was joined by Councillor Sentence, O'Hare, Decker, Didivitis, D'Angela, and Regional Councillor Whalen at the grand opening and ribbon cutting for Avo and Company. This is a great addition to their other Front Street business, Whisk by Avo and Company. Thank you, Craig Dykstra, Nisa and Vaughn Fernandez, for your belief and investment in our revitalized downtown. On March 26th, I attended the memorial ceremony for the official portrait unveiling in honor of the late Regional Chair, Jim Bradley. This portrait is now displayed at Regional Headquarters in the Campbell West Foyer outside of the Regional Council chambers. On March 28th, I brought greetings on behalf of City Council to the Heritage Thorold Information Fair event, held at the Thorold Center 50+. I was joined by Councillors O'Hare and Didivitis. Thank you, Heritage Thorold and Committee Chair Anna O'Hare, for a great presentation and the question and answer period that followed. All three Easter egg hunts held on Saturday, April 4th were very successful and well attended. The Port Robinson Community Center, the Downtown BIA, who partnered with the Thorold Public Library and the Thorold 50+ Center, as well as the biggest one held at Merrittville Speedway. Thank you, Don and Lorraine Spees. Thank you to all the sponsors, Thorold Fire and Emergency Services, Niagara Regional Police, and Provincial Construction for their touch-a-truck setup at the Thorold Community Credit Union parking lot. Also on April 4th, Thorold Protection Hose Company No. 1, Thorold Fire Station 1, held a food drive for community care in front of Foodland in the Pine Plaza. $1,500 was collected and their antique rescue truck was filled to the brim with food donations. Thank you to all the volunteer firefighters who donated their time for this important event, and Foodland Todd Marr for hosting the food drive, as well as the generosity of our community. On April 11th, Councillor Sentence attended the Kiwanis Spelling Bee held at the Ovation Ballroom in Port Robinson West. He brought greetings on behalf of Council and the Thorold Kiwanis Club, as he is their president. Approximately 150 spellers were registered between the ages of 6 and 14. The winners will now represent Niagara at the National Championship, which will be held in May in Toronto. On April 11th, Councillor Sentence O'Hara and I attended the Thorold South Volunteer Firefighters Association drop-in event held upstairs at the Thorold Legion. They celebrated their 100th anniversary last year, and it was great to see members past and present spend the afternoon together, enjoy each other's company, and reminisce. The City of Thorold will host its third annual Earth Day event on Saturday, April 25th from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. at Canada Games Park in Thorold. This is a free community event. Interested community members wanting to host a cleanup in their neighborhood can work with city staff to confirm details of their cleanup and invite other members of the community to join. For more information on the City of Thorold Earth Day activities, please visit our website, www.thorold.ca. The community is invited to celebrate spring and support local causes at the 6th Annual Garden Fest, a popular fertilizer, grass seed, compost, and more fundraising sale hosted by the Knights of Columbus, Council 2319. This event runs from Friday, April 17th through Sunday, April 19th in the Holy Rosary Hall parking lot on Sullivan Avenue. Congratulations to the Thorold TAA U18B Blackhawks hockey team who brought home gold at the OMHA Hockey is Fun tournament in the U18A division. They actually played up a division this past weekend in Brampton. This year's spring street sweeping campaign has begun and is underway. The city is divided into 7 sections for sweeping, each taking approximately 10 days to complete. Maps of each area can be found on the city's website. For more information, please visit www.thorold.ca. And that's the end of my mayor's remarks. Now we'll move on to presentations. Up first, the first presentation, 9.1, is a presentation respecting supportive housing model. I'll call on Rain Laurent Eugene, founder, CEO, and chair of Jesse My Love Foundation, for the presentation regarding supportive housing model. And is this online? Okay. And we'll get this up because Rain is on by Zoom. Welcome, Rain, and you have up to 10 minutes for your presentation, and then we'll any questions can be asked after that.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor Ugolini and members of the council. Thank you for the opportunity to speak with you tonight. I'd like to start with one piece of context that frames everything that follows. In Niagara region, there are 701 people that are currently experiencing homelessness, the majority long-term. Nope, still the first one.
Oh, sorry.
It's okay. Existing systems are struggling to move more people into long-term stability. They are cycling through the system repeatedly. The gap is not in identifying the need. The gap is in the length and structure of the response. My name is Rain Laurent Eugene, and I am the founder and CEO of the Jesse My Love Foundation, a nonprofit organization developing a long-term supportive housing model focused on sustained sustainability for Black and Indigenous women and their families. Tonight, I will introduce that model, show how it aligns with Thorold's in already working towards, and make one specific request. Next slide, please. Thorold is one of the fastest growing cities in Canada. Since 2016, the population has increased by over 26% and occupied dwellings more than 21%. Growth is a strength, but it also places real pressure on housing affordability and community supports. That growth also reveals a more specific reality. Approximately 2,105 people in Thorold are living in poverty or under the market basket measure, and 1,550 households are in the core housing need, meaning that their housing is either unaffordable, unsuitable, or inadequate. Thornhill is also home to the communities in which this model is designed to serve. Approximately 1,230 Black residents and 850 Indigenous residents reside in your city. Niagara Region, on its own research, documents barriers in housing and employment access for these communities. These barriers are that short-term job placement programs and emergency shelters are not designed to address, but are structured for immediate need, not long-term stability. Thornhill has employment, but regional workforce data shows ongoing labor market instability, particularly for youth and racialized communities. Employment alone does not produce stability. Stability requires time, structure, integrated support. That is what is currently missing. Next slide, please. The Jesse My Love Foundation is building a structured long-term residential and training model. At its core is one idea. Housing is the anchor. Everything else in the model is built around that stability. Families are provided with stable housing for up to 3 years. During that time, our Black and Indigenous women participants will participate in stipend structured activities, not short-term programs, but consistent daily work designed to build practical skills, accountability, and confidence. The model includes a land-based agricultural production component through our social enterprise arm. Participants will work within that environment, developing transferable skills while contributing to something tangible and locally rooted. The pathway leads to a recognized non-degree certification delivered in partnership with a post-secondary institution. This supports transition into employment or continued education on the participant's own timeline outside of our program. Participants leave with recognized credentials, documented work experience, and a letter of reference. The design allows families to rebuild gradually rather than being pushed through short-term interventions that do not reflect real-life timelines. Over time, participants may return as mentors within the model. It is designed to cycle for regeneration and not dependency. What makes this different from existing approaches is the combination of time, structure, and integration. The goal is not to move people quickly through a system. It's to ensure that they never need to return to that system. Next slide, please. Thornhold's 2024 to 2027 strategic plan is built on 3 priorities: vibrant and prosperous community, service delivery excellence, and sustainability. There is a direct alignment between that plan and the model we are building. Under vibrant and prosperous community, the plan calls for exploring innovative housing solutions, addressing homelessness, and supporting affordable housing. Our model is a structured long-term alternative to emergency cycling. Under economic prosperity, the plan prioritizes initiatives that create employment and economic participation. Our structured training model and social enterprise do both, particularly for the communities that regional data shows face the greatest labor market barriers. Under sustainability, the plan commits to protecting natural areas and supporting environmental stewardship. Our land-based and regenerative farming component is a direct expression of that commitment. And the plan opens with a land acknowledgement, a commitment to stand with Indigenous people in the stewardship of these lands. Our model gives that commitment operational meaning by serving the communities named in that acknowledgement. We are not asking Thorold to create something new. We are asking Thorold to formally recognize a model that already delivers on what is stated priorities. Next slide, please. We are in early stage development. We are not here tonight requesting funding, land, or formal partnership. We are here to introduce the model, establish alignment, and make one specific request. We are asking for a letter of support from the City of Thorold, affirming alignment with its strategic priorities. This carries weight with funders, granting bodies, and provincial partners as we move through development. We would also like to ask for connections with relevant city staff in housing, economic development, and social services. This allows us to align early with existing systems and identify pathways for collaboration. We're not building this to compete with existing systems. We are not trying to duplicate. We are trying to complement. A letter of support costs the city nothing. For us, it represents municipality recognition that this work belongs in this region. Next slide, please. We are asking Thorold to formally recognize a model that already delivers on your stated priorities. I'd like to thank you for your time, and I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you, Rain, and thank you for your presentation, and I'll open the floor up to questions. Go ahead, Councillor Sentence.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you, thank you, Rain, for your presentation. I like what you have here. The only thing I'll add, I'll support this, is that we are starting an affordable housing group. We're just getting our feet going, so maybe that's a spot where you could land with your group to be in with your ideas and hear our ideas. So it'd be, sorry, Mark or Kevin, but I'm sure we could hook you up in the future when we get our feet going. Thank you.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Is there anyone else? Go ahead, Councillor DeRose.
Yeah, through you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Rain. Rain, just do you consider homelessness at this point a state of emergency or an emergency?
I do for the people who are homeless, yes.
Right. And do you feel the region's doing enough at this point?
I would like to know more about what the region is doing at this point, from what I understand, but there can always be more to be done.
Oh, I agree. Have you spoken to anybody at the region as of yet?
No, which is why I was asking for some introduction.
Yeah, no, you'll have my support. Thank you for for speaking tonight.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Go ahead, Councillor O'Hare.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you, thank you, Rain, for coming. This is a needed area, not just in Niagara, but everywhere. I really like your goals here. I don't know if you have any sort of time frame that you're looking at. I know you're just beginning, but have you set out a plan in terms of where you'd like to be in a couple of years, in 5 years, et cetera?
Within 5 years, we'd like to have our first cohort, probably in the middle of their programming. We want to start off with 10. Eventually, we'd like to get up to 50 to 60. So the first 10 within the first 5 years, and then we'll be able to see how the program is working, what skills are they developing, and the stability that we're providing if it's working.
That sounds wonderful. Is this your goal to establish all these branches here in Niagara or throughout Ontario?
Right now, Niagara, but we are a federal nonprofit.
Mm-hmm. Very good, very good. Mr. Mayor, do we need a motion for this, or do we just move it on to staff to take from here?
Yes. Yes.
Can I put a motion on the floor?
Who's seconding that? I got Councillor D'Angelo seconding that.
Okay.
Is there anyone else that has any questions for Rain? You question for the presenter? Okay, go ahead, Councillor.
You, Mr. Mayor, just to Rain. Rain, have you partnered with any other Indigenous organizations in the region?
We are in conversations with various organizations right now, but we're in early conversations. But we have reached out, yes.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay. Rain, thank you very much for your presentation, and we have a motion on for the support letter. Okay? We had a mover and a seconder. We'll have to put that letter together, obviously. But is there any discussion on that? Or are we going to vote? Okay. All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. So that support, and we will get that letter, Rain.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Mayor and Council.
Thank you. 9.3 is up next as we, the amended order, and the presentation respecting water and wastewater and stormwater management master plan. I'll call on James Jorgensen, Vice President, Infrastructure Planning and Asset Management, GEI Canada. That's a mouthful right there, I'll tell you. Anyway, and James, you got, the floor is yours. You have up to 10 minutes, and then we'll have questions.
Good evening, Mayor, Council, and members. And through you, Mr. Mayor, I would like to talk to you today about the water, wastewater, and stormwater management master plans. I'm James Jorgensen. I am a Vice President with GEI. I grew up in a coastal village in England with a sewage problem. And for the last 24 years, 15 of which in Canada, I've been helping communities look after their water, wastewater, and stormwater assets. Next slide, please. So why are we here? We're here to talk about these studies, and there's 3 separate but obviously related studies that have been going on. We are right at the back end of those studies. We are compiling the final reports. There's a website on the city's website where you can find more information about the progress and things that have been happening so far. I'm just going to give you a very brief overview of those 3 studies, and then there's more information available. There's the whole presentation here, and then obviously the reports will be available for you to review, and they are lengthy. Next slide, please. So we've been on a journey. These reports don't get done overnight, and these ones have taken the best part of 3 years to complete. All 3 of them have gone through the same kind of process, the formal process, and some of the key pieces that have happened are the PICs. PICs are public information centers. We had our first, which really introduces the study back in 24th June. And then in the fall of last year was when we presented PIC2, and that's the one that's got the important stuff in terms of the preferred strategies for those 3 systems that we've presented. And then here we are today talking to council, and then following this we will be looking to finalize all 3 studies. Next slide, please. So this is a little bit of background. I'll let you read the words, but really the main goal of all 3 studies is to understand what situation the systems are in today, look at what growth is likely to happen in the future, and then understand what the infrastructure needs are to service today and future growth. Next slide, please. All 3 studies did follow the municipal class environmental assessment process. There's various aspects to this, but there's some key bits that all have to follow. For these studies, which are relatively high-level studies, they all satisfied phases 1 and 2 of that process. And you can see the little finger at the bottom of phase 2. That is where we select the preferred solution. Phases 3 to 5 are really around design alternatives for much more significant specific projects, and they were not part of any of these studies. Next slide, please. So there's been a lot of previous work on all 3 of these systems, particularly the water, and we took those into account when we did this one. In particular, the 2021 Niagara Region Master Servicing Plan, which is obviously the wider regional infrastructure to which the city's infrastructure relates and connects to. The Water and Wastewater Master Plan built on that and is looking to come up with that prioritized capital program of your assets and what you need to do to look after those. And then the Stormwater Management Master Plan, this was the first time that you've really embarked on a management master plan for your stormwater services. So this has been more around setting the stage and setting you up for a future of more optimized management of that system. Next slide, please. Planning for growth. We heard in the previous presentation a shorter term view of growth, around 26% of growth is what was mentioned. In this case, we're looking at around a 50% growth out to 2051 from today's value. So that's 20,000 extra people that are currently planned to turn up in the city of Thorold before 2051. And all of those people are going to need to turn the tap on and have water and flush the toilet to get rid of it. as well as making sure that the stormwater management systems are able to manage with that excess water coming from the impermeable surfaces. That is really the problem statement of the water and wastewater stormwater management master plans, and what we needed to come up with a preferred alternative to be able to service those people out into the future. You can see the map there, and we have some pre-2051 growth, and we also considered what might happen post-2051. Obviously, when we start looking at that timeline, we're getting more into assumptions in best guesses. Next slide, please. This is a little bit more detailed just on that environmental assessment process. Phase 1 is really setting the stage, problem and opportunity statement. The identify alternative solutions. To do that, we needed hydraulic models. So all 3 systems had an updated hydraulic model built. That became our tool to test various scenarios and ideas to come up with the most optimized solution. We evaluated those alternatives, and then we've selected the final and preferred, and that's what we have in the back end of each of the master plans and what we would call the capital program table. Next slide, please. There's a lot of detail on here, but for each system, we need to be able to identify a threshold at which we are calling something requiring work. So this would be our service performance, level of service. So for drinking water, if pressures drop below 40 psi, you will start to see an impact in your shower in the morning, for example. Fire flow is another key one. And we have the other thresholds that we've used to help determine where there are problems requiring mitigation. And that's what you see on this slide. I won't get into the detail. Next slide, please. So we've got a slide on all 3 of the master plans combined, and that's what you're seeing here. And then we've got a slide coming up on each individual system after this one. What we've done with the needs of servicing is we've identified them by priority, and we've looked at them in terms of what is short-term, medium-term, and long-term. And within that short-term, we've identified kind of a higher and lower priority of those short-term needs. So the highest priority projects that we believe the city should be looking at addressing soonest are where there's an existing deficiency, and that might not mean an actual problem, but just one of those thresholds has been passed, and it's also required to support growth. So those you should do first. The second priority are you have an existing deficiency, but there's no growth planned on that infrastructure. And then as we move into medium term and long term, they're the things that are going to be triggered much later on as more growth occurs. As you can see the split there. We're talking 116 total across all 3 systems. And next slide, please. This is the water one. This is by far the biggest amount in terms of dollar value. You can see the 98 almost million there. And again, like I said, it's been split by those priorities. A large part of this, especially the early priorities, are around the replacement of your cast iron water mains, which has been ongoing and will continue to. Those are also, in some cases, causing service deficiency as well, so promoting them to that short-term high priority need. You can see a large part of the dollar value there is post-2051, and this is really suggesting that your system, when all of that growth happens, the 20,000, we go beyond that, that's when we start to see some bigger issues occurring in your system. Next slide, please. And for wastewater, we don't have too many priorities regarding actual pipe upgrades. We do have some sewers that we've identified as needing replacement or upsizing. But what we're talking about here is getting into inflow and infiltration reduction. So that is really making sure that rainwater cannot infiltrate into the sanitary system. And that is the cause of all of the flooding and overflows in that kind of thing. So in a lot of these areas, we identified elevated levels of I&I, and those should be dealt with first before trying to build a pipe big enough to take what is essentially rainwater. Next slide, please. Stormwater, like I said, we are at the beginning of the journey on stormwater. You have a lot of unassumed storm ponds, so a large focus of this master plan for the city was to provide the guidance and standards in recommendations for how to look after that infrastructure. So manuals and guidebooks were a key focus. The dollar value is really around investigation and learning about your assets first. Next slide, please. This is a flow monitor plan that we're recommending for the stormwater system. This is to understand the flows in the characteristics of your system. Next slide, please. And this is talking more about the specifics around that inspection and condition assessment work that's required for the stormwater system before we can truly understand what pipes are in poor condition and need replacing, fixing. So that would be the later stages. Next slide, please. And that's the whistle-stop tour of 3 years' work in 10 minutes. I've got 10 minutes 20 on my stopwatch, 20 seconds over. But the next steps really is to issue a notice of completion. So that's part of that Class A process. That's not been done. The final reports are with city staff for their final reviews. There will just be a compilation of that into one PDF document, and then the notice of completion will be sent out, 30-day public review. Done.
Well, James, I let you go over 20 seconds because it's such an important topic. But anyway, I'm going to open the floor for questions. Councillor Hanley, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you, you mentioned inflow reduction. Can I ask where we need to have inflow reduction? And I'll tell you why I'm asking.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, the I&I reduction is inflow and infiltration reduction. And there was a map on one of the slides that showed the areas. Those areas are based on flow monitor zones. So where we had an actual measuring device in the sewer, where we can see all the flows that are generated upstream of that. So in some locations, that could be quite a large area. Part of the I&I reduction study in the work that we're recommending is to identify more specifically where that flow is coming from. It's actually back a few more slides.
I got the one slide here, yeah.
That one.
Flow monitor 22, 23, 24, 25. The reason I'm bringing up through you, Mr. Mayor, we spent millions of dollars, maybe before some of councillors even here were even on council, in reducing inflow reduction in Thorold South. And I can see we still have problems there because there's a flow monitor in 22, 23, 24, 25. So all those monies that we spent previously, did they not help the reduction through you to the proper staff member? Or are we still in the same situation we were 6, 7 years ago?
You know what? Ask questions for the presenter, but you can ask that
Okay.
question when I put the report on.
Okay, I'll do another question
Because that's an important question. So.
Okay, through the presenter or to whoever, we have a wastewater sewage treatment plant that's supposed to be coming into line on Brown Road in Niagara Falls. Does this affect any of this that's in front of us today in regards to wastewater management?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, in some ways, yes, but for this master plan in the work that's recommended, not particularly.
Are all the monies that you're counting for here for the city of Thorold only? This is our actual cost, right?
Just city costs. And through you, Mr. Mayor, part of the reason for identifying I&I reduction is because regional infrastructure and the region of Niagara only will accept certain amounts of flow based on a measurement of I&I. And if it exceeds a certain threshold, they will not provide capacity.
Okay, thank you very much for that. Next question. Will some of these costs be in installing more combined sewer inflow tanks like we have presently? I believe it's one, we have one on Lawrence, one on Ryerson to control wastewater, or stormwater, as we're doing now. Is that part of the plan to have more of these tanks installed?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, no CSO storage tanks are planned as part of this master plan. If the city is successful with I&I reduction, that reduces the need for storage tanks. And storage tanks, personally, are a last resort for me.
Okay. One final question for now, through you, Mr. Mayor. We have a siphon that goes under the Welland Canal. Many probably don't realize it. I think it's probably only at about 40% flow. Are we looking at increasing that flow? I know in the past we didn't, and that was why St. Catharines had to install several combined sewer inflow infiltration tanks and then release the pressure off. So are we looking to open up that any further? It was built, I believe, in 1936. And now, and it's only at 40% capacity. Are we looking at improving that capacity, or are we going to restrict it?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, the inverted siphon under the canal was not identified as a deficiency and does not feature in the capital program for any works within the master plan.
Okay, thank you very much, because that's an issue too. Thank you.
Councillor Sentence, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you, thanks, James, for presentation and 3 years of work. Appreciate it. I mean, I knew we had a problem in Thorold South and Carlton. My question would be, you said something about the infiltration problem is elevation. So what did you mean by that? I didn't quite understand that part.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, what specifically did I say around elevation?
You said something when you were talking, and it sounded like
levels.
elevation was a problem of, so is it my mind went to our land being too high or something like that. Is that
No,
what
I
you
think
meant?
I may have said elevated levels of I&I.
Oh,
so
okay.
Beyond
Sorry.
a certain threshold again, and typically when we're looking at I&I, we're looking at the thresholds that the region would apply to their regional pumping stations and that kind of thing.
Very good. Thank you.
Anyone else have questions? Go ahead, Councillor O'Hare, and then Councillor D'Angelo.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you to the presenter, thank you for coming in and going over time. But it was a lot of information. Well done. I'd like to return to the I&I once again. I'm just wondering, are you looking at all at some natural solutions, how to reduce I&I? So, for example, more green space, more permeable paving, perhaps. I mean, we can't stop the water from coming down. What we can do is divert it, perhaps, and not have it enter the system in a more natural environment. Is that anything that you've been looking into?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, that would be part of the stormwater management master plan as well. In it, that at the moment, there's a lot of information that needs to be gathered around your stormwater assets before you would get into being able to identify those infrastructure needs. Sustainable urban drainage systems, SUDs, or low impact development is what you're talking about. They can certainly be part of the solution. But regarding the sanitary system, obviously the combined system is taking rainfall by design, but the sanitary system, inflow and infiltration, what we're talking about is cracks in pipes and maintenance holes and leaking in. That would be the infiltration piece, which is slower. And then the inflow component would be a direct connection. So say stormwater is connected direct to the sanitary, or if there's a downspout that's connected, or in a lot of cases, and I'm sure with Thorold, there's foundation drains as well from older properties which are connected direct to the sanitary. Those are the real killers of sanitary capacity and what leads to what we would call I&I.
Okay, thank you very much.
Councillor D'Angelo, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just following sort of Councillor Hanley's comments regarding our CSO tanks, the one on Lawrence, Delaware, and also we have one on Welland Avenue. Those are the three that I was on council when we built those, and I know Councillor Hanley was there. Will work be done around those? Because I think one of the reasons that we built those is that we couldn't get the infiltration out of the system because of the connections either being under porches, being under various reasons. That's why the tanks were built, because we were still having sewer backups into residential homes. So that's why we moved forward with that. Do you see that's where the infiltration work's going to be done? Or is it going to be in other areas that weren't really captured by those tanks?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I would say it would be in these other areas not captured by the tanks. But saying that, there's always opportunity to any inflow that you can remove. It would help with the CSO tanks. The CSO tanks have a volumetric limit. There will be a rainfall event that will surpass that limit. So I&I is and reducing it is the solution that keeps on giving. But like you say, it's hard to do in some locations. So we do refer to hard infrastructure solutions. CSO tanks, where needed, are successful.
Okay, and I don't know if this is a staff question or a presenter questions. When I was at the region, I was on the Public Works Committee. I fought hard to get funding to local municipalities from the region for storm sewer initiatives, ISO tanks, or diversion. Is that something that the region is still participating with? Because I know they were up to 50 to 75% funds that they would flow through to the local municipality, because any water we take out of the system benefits them in the long term in terms of their treatment facilities. Is that something that is still going on at the region?
The programs are still ongoing, but there's a cap on them, so, you know, it's basically first come, first served for projects that you have that can utilize that funding, that envelope of funding that's there.
Okay, so is that something we could capture and utilize for some of the work that's going to be anticipated to be done?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, yes, exactly. The I&I reduction in particular would be potentially applicable to the Niagara region funding mechanism, in that is not captured in the values that you saw today. So it would make your costs lower.
Okay, so I would highly recommend we get our applications in now, so to be first come for the beginning of the new year. Thank you.
Anyone else have questions for the presenter before I put the report on the floor? Okay, seeing none. James, thank you very much for the presentation. And now the report, which is PWCS 14-2026, Water, Wastewater, and Stormwater Master Plans. Can I get a mover and a seconder to put this on the floor? Councillor D'Angelo and Councillor Decker. And now, Councillor Hanley, you had a question, which would be now the time to ask that question to staff.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, I know we had done substantial work in regards to floor monitoring in Thorold South. Have those works alleviated the problem, or is the problem still ongoing? Because I can remember coming back here, we had even budget, we spent
large
millions, for maybe more. So has it helped the situation? Because that's what I believe. So we fix one place where there's an inflow in a pipe, and all it does is water finds the least root of resistance, and then it goes down the road, and it finds another gap that hasn't been collecting infiltration water because we've been taking care of it up here. And then once we fix that problem, it goes down the road. So has it benefited the city, all those monies we spent, or are we just chasing a dead horse here, you might say?
Through you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, it has definitely helped the city in our expenditures on that front. The way we usually measure the infiltration levels for a sanitary sewer is we measure it by the amount of water that gets in based on a return storm. When I first started here, the return storm that was causing flooding in the Thorold South area was about a 1-year storm, 1.5-year storm. We now have it up to about a 6-year storm. We would still like to continue to, there's a real benefit to everybody if we continue to eliminate that infiltration from the system. And there is actually a financial benefit to this, because we pay for all that sewage that we're collecting, and some of it is stormwater.
Okay, thank you very much. Just another one, follow up to that. Do we still have a program in the city of Thorold? As you said, I know that we can save the people, but we did actually pay residents if we knew that their gutters or their weeping tiles were connected to the city. Did we not offer a program at one time where we would help with the cost of eliminating that? And putting in something? Yeah.
Sewer separation.
Yeah, sewer separation is when we
Through
did
you,
that.
Mr. Mayor. We did have a program that does that, and we still do. We continue to fund that. It's in our capital budget, and we continue to eliminate 12 to 15 homes every year on that exact program.
Okay, that's good. Thank you very much.
You're
Appreciate
done,
it.
Councillor
Yeah, I'm good.
Hanley?
Fine
Okay, Councillor DeRose, go ahead.
Yeah, through you, Mr. Mayor, just to staff, to the see if. Sorry, Maria, my speaker was.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I think you'll see that one of the recommendations is that as we're doing our budgets, that this be factored in. At this point, I think this is the first time that certainly I'm seeing it, but I would suspect that some of this will be growth related, that will come from development charges. So I think as we move through the budget process, we'll have to determine what moves forward, what's a priority, and how it will be funded.
And also to staff, maybe I should ask the presenter, is there a timeline for this, if someone didn't already ask?
Well, the program shows short and long term, but at the end of the day, that's the discretion of council on how much budget money they put towards these things, Councillor.
And obviously, there should be some federal and provincial money available, hopefully, or?
Well, you hope. I mean, we did get funding for Sullivan Avenue. That's an example of a project where we got, what, $4-point-something million. So there are opportunities, for sure.
Should we start establishing some kind of communication on that, or?
Well, it's based on where we're heading with our projects, and then staff looks at them and looks for funding opportunities that are available for those projects. But if there's a project we can move up because there's funding, those are things we should look at, obviously.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else? Go ahead, Councillor DeAngelo.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Mayor. This one's directed to staff. Recently in Thorold South, there's been a lot of house development, like on Pilkington, Taylor, some of the other streets. Is this going to add more to the problem? Because, as mentioned earlier, there's less grass, less areas where water can filtrate naturally. So those additional homes are being built, and they're not really being built like a subdivision where you put a stormwater management plan in place. They're just additional houses that are being infilled with a lot of lots that are there. Is this going to make the problem worse for us as we move along? Or is that water that's coming out of those new homes being diverted directly into the storm sewer and not affecting it? So maybe if we could have a couple comments on that. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Go ahead, Sean.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, yeah, that's exactly the plan, is that all the stormwater associated with those new homes are directed to the storm sewers as opposed to the sanitary sewers. So when we put up a new system like Pilkington, they tend to be significantly drier, 8 times drier than a home that is built back in the days when they had the wet systems, if you will, where the storm drainage would end up in the sanitary sewers. It is not acceptable anymore, and we don't do that anymore.
Yeah, I guess my point is it something the city's paying extra to get this done, or is it those homes that are being built paying for that extra the separation of the storm compared to the sanitary?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I want to be careful about the word separation. That's all I want to be clear, is that things are built according to current engineering standards, which includes a complete separation, if you will, of the storm sewer from the sanitary sewer. So yes, the homeowners are paying for those as it goes in.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, anyone else? Councillor Sentence, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you, just a quick question. So Thorold South obviously has a capacity issue. Do we know, like when I'm looking at this map here, do we know, have we pinpointed where the problems are, the infiltration problems are, or is that going to be what we're going to have to do?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, no, we have not pinpointed exact locations.
Right.
We will certainly have to do some more studying if we're going to do that. The other option on that front is just to keep it in a state of good repair, which will help to eliminate a lot of the I&I anyway.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Just one quick follow-up. In regards to the sewage treatment plant, when is this supposed to be up and running, the new one?
Well, that's a good...
2026, where it's starting, it was supposed to already be done.
That's a good question you ask, because that was a presentation at the Public Works today.
Okay.
So a lot of it's based on, like this, the total project now, when it's completed, is $550 million, okay? The first phase is around $400 million, and the goal is to get one-third funding, okay? So now they're working with the province, because there's a funding models coming out now with these infrastructure funding projects, and they're hoping that they get that funding, and once the funding's locked in, they'll progress. But you're talking, they said today the first phase would be 2030.
2030.
Okay, and then to keep going is gonna be even longer, but a lot of that is gonna be based on the funding, you know, one-third, 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 because the region's gotta put in one-third, which they'll recover a portion of that on development charges, and then they're hoping to get equal funding from the province and the feds.
Because the objective there is to get the waters from Thorold South and that stuff, instead of going to the port, the Weller station to come to Niagara Falls.
So that is correct. So what'll happen, everything on the east side of the canal will get diverted to the new sewage treatment plant.
Okay.
Which will free up capacity in in the main downtown Thorold area, say in St. Catharines, okay?
Yep.
As well as providing for the growth in Rolling Meadows and Rodenko and all those other developments, and South Niagara Falls. So that's why that project is so critical. But
Okay.
getting back to the you know, the money you talked about that we spend on infiltration,
Yes.
it has helped, because we do flow monitoring, and we've been doing it ever since I can remember when I was on council. And that has allowed us to develop into Rolling Meadows based on the flows, because a lot of that, other than the pumping station at Peel and the and the tanks there, but as well, it's been less infiltration than there used to be. And so we monitor that.
That's why we've been
steady.
able to continue the building.
Exactly. And we monitor that steady, am I correct, Sean?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, no, we haven't done any monitoring that for 3 or 4 years now.
So do we have to get back as far as the study says and make sure that we're capturing that?
That is certainly one of the recommendations from this master plan.
Okay, thank you. Okay, we got a mover and a seconder for that. All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. Okay, now we're gonna do the presentation respecting the parking master plan, and I'll call on Nick Palumba, Vice President, Traffic and Transportation Planning, RV Anderson Associates, for presentation regarding the parking master plan. And once again, Nick, welcome, and you have up to 10 minutes, and because I let him go 10 minutes and 20 seconds, I'm gonna cut you a little slack. If you
I was
go.
going to ask for that extra 20 seconds. Mr. Mayor, members of council, thank you for the opportunity to come in and do a presentation on the parking master plan that we completed with the city. I just want to say that the project, similar to the other one, ran over a number of years with a fair bit of public outreach that was done, a lot of data collection, and you know, all of that was pulled together to develop the recommendations within the plan. I'm just going to wait for the presentation to go up. Okay, so very quickly, I'm going to move through the slides quickly again because there's a lot of information to try to present within this short time frame. And obviously, you can come back with questions if there's something I've glossed over too quickly. So what is a parking master plan? It really is setting up the direction for the community in terms of how to coordinate their efforts, like a strategic approach to parking policy, parking supply, planning for future parking, and also enforcement. The parking master plan consisted of assessing the existing parking situation as it sits today within the residential areas. There's 3 that were selected, and also within the core downtown area. We collected information from stakeholders and the general public. We evaluated the parking needs based on what's there today, but also looking forward on what different developments are in the pipeline, and also a bit of a crystal ball of what we could see up to 2051 and then and beyond. We developed citywide strategies and a policy framework, and we're preparing the city master plan report. It is with staff and draft. I believe council was provided a link. And based on today's meeting, any feedback, we would just wrap up any modifications and then produce a final report for staff and for city. I think I've lost my If we can go to the next slide, okay. So the three, as I said, downtown, the downtown area as it was defined at the start of the study, you can see in the graphic to the right. It does not include the broader downtown as including an example is where where Old City Hall was on Carlton. We really are limited by Ormond Street. So Claremont at the south end, St. David's, Town Line at the north end, and Pine Street on the west. The three subdivisions that we looked at and we collected information was Confederation Heights, Port Robinson Estates, and Hansler Heights. Next slide. The things that were considered, I'm not going to go through all of these in details, but you can see the broad cross-section of elements from technologies to permits to enforcement. Next slide. This is our timeline for the project with the major tasks. A big part of it at the beginning was review of background documents, community engagement. We did 2 rounds of community engagement. We did 2 PICs near the beginning to really listen and hear what the stakeholders, residents, businesses in the downtown, what people felt were their uncomfortable points. You know, I'm from the city, so I know a lot about pressures with parking and challenges, but we really wanted to hear it firsthand to make sure that as we went out and collected information, we designed a collections process and package that would capture and measure those complaints. Just moving down the line, the other part of it was we did an industry-wide comparison where we looked at peer municipalities, look at how they manage parking, look at how they do things and see if there's some best practices that Thorold's not applying that we could look to bring to Thorold from those other municipalities' experience. As I said, we've got the report done in draft, and post this meeting, we will do any final modifications to it and then present it to the city. Next slide. So just a bit on the parking analysis, again, just respecting the time. So we studied both weekdays and weekends. We did multiple days at different times of the year. And what we tried to do is capture what a typical day would be in the downtown, in this particular area. Basically, what you see is on-street parking, what we found along Front Street, Sullivan, Claremont Street, and Albert, were heavily utilized. We consider that over 85%. We have to remember in the winter months, you don't have 100% of your parking available, whether it's on street or in parking lots because of snow storage and that. So at 85%, you really are approaching capacity in the seasonal time of the year. And then most of the off-street parking lots had significant surplus, except for parking lot 4A, 5, and 7, which you see on the graphic. So anything in blue is highly utilized. Anything in green, you see the numbers. You know, you're in your 70s and you know 60%. So there's still demand there, but not at capacity. So overall, on a typical day, and we found weekday to be the busiest, we found that the parking system still has a surplus of about 149 spaces. That's considering both on-street and off-street parking today. We've looked at some of the parking lots and some of the initiatives that the city is doing in the downtown, and we think that with some reconfiguration of certain parking lots, revisiting places like Eakins Lane and that there's an ability to maybe increase that overall supply by about another 50 spaces as you reconstruct and implement new things. And I believe parking lot 3 or 5, there's a plan to do a reconstruction there. Just as you formalize the parking, you'll be able to get more out of the parking areas. The other part is we worked with planning to look at what the forecast for the downtown looked like. And what planning supported us with is looking out to 2051 and then to what we consider a build-out, which is some point past 2051, of how many residential units could come in to that core downtown area that I described. And what we found is that based on the estimates, the low estimate of residential units could be around 885, where the high estimate could be as high as 2,900. And the difference there is just the density, the number of floors, things like that. As we also know with downtown, we are encouraging ground floor commercial or office or business, and you see that there's about another 12,000 square meters of potential office space. And all of this, as it comes in, would generate demand for future parking. Next slide, please. So, so two things. So with that future parking, if we assume that things remain the way they are in terms of vehicle ownership, the parking numbers would be pretty high. What we've recognized is in downtown, you're starting to get more people living down there. You're getting more employment there. We expect that over time, people will make life choices to get that live-work relationship so that they can choose to walk to work, cycle to work, or use transit, because we also have the transit hub downtown. And so with that in place, we have assumed over time that you're going to get some internal capture. What that means is people are going to live and work in proximity and not require as much parking. They're not going to drive to downtown. And in the long term, the goal would be to reduce vehicle ownership, but we know we need to have viable transportation solutions for people to give up their cars. So forecasts for residential parking at build-out, for the low and high scenarios, we're estimated 1,000 spaces to 3,600 spaces. So now these spaces would have to be supplied by the development community as part of their site developments. That's one scenario. I'm just going to touch on the commercial. On the commercial side, that's the ground floor commercial. Right now, the city exempts a developer from having to supply parking for ground floor commercial. And so with that accommodation of that demand would have to be done by the existing municipal supply. So today, as I said, there was 149 surplus plus potentially another 150 that you could generate, which puts you at about 199, 200 spaces. The future commercial demand at build-out would be about 210. You'd be shy by 11, so you're almost there. You can cover, but as I said, come wintertime, not all those spaces are always available because of snow clearing and that. So the existing supply you have would be consumed by just accommodating your future commercial and office demand. So that leaves the residential. So what do we do with residential? So one option is the developers must supply on-site the number of spaces per your bylaw that are required to support their development. And the other option is you can look at a cash in lieu program where the city, because the city does have one, but it's not very formal, but establishing a proper one where you can provide incentive to the development community to develop down here and saying, hey, your parcels aren't very big, so we know you're going to have to go down if you're underground, or you have to do the first couple of floors stacked. But if you develop in the downtown, we'll let you do cash in lieu, which means you'll pay us X number of dollars for not having to supply so many spaces on site. But if you're going to do that, that money you collect will have to go towards creating a supply of parking where those people who are not provided a spot on site can actually park. So what the policy that's out there is being used by many agencies is the formula for that is taking the, sorry, just waiting for the presentation to come back up. Right, so to establish a cash in lieu rate, you take the construction cost of a parking spot plus the land value, the value of the land that it takes up because you have to purchase land, and you multiply that by a share factor. So the first two, the construction cost, it really depends what you're doing. Are you building a surface lot, or have you really exhausted all your land supply and you're going to have to take one of your existing lots and go up in a structure? And that cost value will be different, and we've provided the city with guidance on benchmark costing for those different models. The land value, that's straightforward, what the land value is downtown. And then the share value is what percentage of that true cost of supplying that parking spot do you want the development community to pay for? So What we found in the industry is most municipalities have that set around 40 to 50%. So they're looking for the development community to provide a contribution towards it, but they're also providing the difference in the cost. And I think part of that is as an incentive to come and develop and then pay taxes and do all the other good things that it brings. But you could always set that at 1 if you don't have the resources to build those parking spaces yourself, and ask the development community to pay 100% of that. Next slide. In the residential neighborhoods, very high level. So what we did is we looked at just driveway space and on-street parking. And what we found across the 3 neighborhoods, there was almost 3,700 residential units, and there was 7,700 plus registered vehicles. Now, we grabbed this data from some sources, which I can elaborate later on if there's questions. But what that shows us is, and we broke it out then between the 3 communities, and I'll go to the slide. So in Confederation Heights, we saw 36% of the homes had 3 or more registered vehicles to them. Hansler was 12%, and then in Port Robinson, now this is all 2023 data, and in Port Robinson, there was none in excess of 2. These results, this results in significant on-street parking. The issue is, garages are generally not used. The driveways, very often, as a convenience, people do not park back-to-back in the driveways. They use the street so they're not shuffling cars. And what we're seeing is we also went through all of your bylaw, ticket, and infraction notices. We mapped it all spatially to see where these complaints are and the types of complaints. And these are complaints that really lend themselves to a shortage of parking in these areas, so people get creative with how they get their vehicles in, how they park them, and so on. And then as Thorold continues to grow, we would see that these similar trends would follow in terms of high vehicle ownership, and with the density of homes, so row town homes, anything that have closely spaced driveways, you have less and less on-street parking spaces available to use. So that also elevates that demand, because when you're doing all single-family homes, you get a lot of parking on site. Now that you have row townhomes, townhomes, you really don't even get a parking space between driveways because the separation isn't enough. Next slide.
I'm gonna have to get you to pick the pace up here, Nick. 'Cause
Oh, my
we're
goodness.
over
Yeah,
already.
you know what? I am over.
But I know it's important, so.
Okay, well, so overall in the subdivisions, we saw that the peak demand was 1,200 vehicles. The supply is 2,900. So it says there's lots of parking considering driveways and on-street within the subdivisions. But within certain areas, as I was talking about, where you have high number of higher density, you have row homes, you don't have formal rooming houses, but we know we have areas with multifamily, or you have students and with a lot of tenants. These areas create a concentration, and we see these elements and these symptoms out there. Moving quickly. So other communities to deal with this have implemented they've implemented permit parking in certain areas, just to make sure there's an equitable distribution of the available parking to all the residents on the street. And that's something that could be considered by the city. Next. So we've created recommendations. They're in your report. They're short, medium, and long. Short is 0 to 2, medium 3 to 7, and then beyond 7. I'm not going to go through these in detail, and they really are a number of things that you can start on right away, right? Confirming the layout of your parking lots, AODA compliance. You're reconstructing, I believe, parking lots 3, wayfinding and branding. We heard complaints of people, parking lot 4A, where is 4A? So we're saying maybe you tie that to a geographic feature, a historical feature in the downtown that ties to that geographic area. Also, EMS, if someone's having a health issue at a location, how does EMS find out where parking lot 4A is? Should you have a municipal address with them or things like that? Working through this, you can see the different options. Next slide. Oh, I'm sorry, before I leave that one, I think it's strong to consider establish an ad hoc committee with an ad hoc downtown parking committee. The parking demands and challenges in the downtown are unique from residential areas. And so consideration of putting a committee together, an ad hoc committee would, I think, let those topics be vetted, discussed more thoroughly, and then give you an option to bring to council and debate and bring forward. Next slide. Education is a big part of this. We have to educate people on why these behaviors are there. You know, there's a lot of great education programs already out there that Thorold can piggyback off of and use. So enforcement is only as good as when they're there. And so we recommending that you review your enforcement capabilities and see if the frequency at which the staff can get out and I hate the word police, but really police these areas of high infraction. Do you have enough resources to do it at a frequency that it becomes a deterrent? Because if it's not a deterrent, people are very complacent. They'll just repeat the actions if they know they're not going to get a ticket every week. So the city staff, we're recommending that you look at your internal resources. Next. Medium term, some of these are a little longer. I'll just highlight just the one with the school boards. The school boards, the city needs to work with the school boards. I know there's a new school going in Rolling Meadows. They have to internalize all their operations. The kiss and ride, the bus pickup and drop off, those shouldn't be out on municipal streets. It creates a lot of safety issues as kids that walk home have to work through all these areas. So much like you would do with a fast food restaurant with a drive-through, you want to make sure that they can contain all their operations on site. The idea would be to do that with the schools and then to work with the school boards at the existing schools and see how they can better improve these things and internalize again some of these. The school boards are very motivated to improve safety and they do have programs to do this. Next. And then the longer term ones, these are things such as looking at long-term initiatives. Your transportation master plan had a number of policies, and we think those line up well with this. So I won't get into too many, but future technologies, parking technologies will always improve, and they're out there today. Some of them are very expensive today, but in time they're all coming down, and they're going to be much more in reach of smaller communities. And Thorold, as we saw from the numbers, is not going to remain a small community for very long. I think we've been growing so fast, and our forecasts are going high. So I'm going to stop because I think I've really overran there.
I cut you a lot of slack, Nick. I want you to know that. But it's this is an important item. I'm going to open the floor for questions. I will tell you that we had an ad hoc parking committee downtown, and we're reinstituting it. So that part is good, and a lot of the stuff that come about with the parking lots downtown and reconfiguration. I know number 5's going to detailed design because we included that in the budget, but there's a way more work to be done downtown. But I'll open the floor for questions. Go ahead, Councillor Sens.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you, Nick, thank you for coming. Tough to get through all this in 10 minutes. I appreciate your time. A couple questions for you. Well, a statement first. Hopefully we're taking care of the ad hoc committee tonight. But other than that, the ownership data, how do you find the ownership data?
Sir, through you, Mr. Mayor, with the Ministry of Transportation, you can get anonymous data from them. So what we did is we submitted the postal codes of all the different subdivisions. And what they'll return is they'll return anonymous data telling us things about vehicle ownership. You can get all sorts of data. It's not tied to an address, but you can get this, and that's what we did. So it was 2023 data, but it really gave us an insight of what are we working with here, right? Because we knew there was high vehicle ownership, but to what percentage and how that changed between the municipalities. That's how we leveraged that information.
Thank you. Just one more question. When we're looking at downtown, and you only went so far, like you didn't go towards the canal too far, I would think, like, in your opinion, if we take care of downtown and fix our problems downtown, that will also help us fix Albert Street and towards the canal, will it not?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I think, as you've probably seen, as downtown has challenges during different time with parking, people will push out further.
Right.
And sometimes it's to avoid paying, so people are willing to walk further if they can get the free, but it's usually if they can't find a convenience space or what they consider to be a convenience space, it will push out beyond that core downtown that was used in this project.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Councillor Hanley.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just on back of what Councillor Sutton said in regards to finding the data in regards to the cars, 7,735 only if they change their address on their license. That's where we get into 14,000 students right up the road here. So to me, that number is skewed, you might say a bit. I would probably add a 50% to that because I could guarantee you that a majority of the students that come to Thorold aren't changing their driver's license as required. So I take that into factor because we see what's happened. So you've done great work, no doubt about it, Nick. And that stuff's, like you said, 3,676, but I believe we have a higher number than the 7,735. I don't know if you would agree with that, but not everybody registers their driver's license as they're supposed to.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, no, I'm in 100% agreement. And in certain areas where we expected the ownership to be a bit higher and we saw it was lower, we fully attributed it to that fact that, you know, students don't, some of them do, but I would say the majority are not changing their driver's license to a Thorold address.
And just one follow-up on that. In regards to permit parking, if I could ask you personally, should we do it sooner or later? I ask that because I know that in Hamilton, Niagara Falls, a couple of municipalities here in the Niagara, ask that question. How many municipalities in the Niagara region have permit parking? Do we know?
Through you, Mr. Chair, no, I apologize, I don't know the number. To your first question, I think you should start exploring it immediately, but you're gonna have to have some consultation with the neighborhoods you're considering. The first part is, you know, where.
Talking about on-street permit parking.
On-street parking
On-street
permit.
permit parking.
Okay,
Yeah,
I
on-street
just
parking
wanted to
permit.
clarify
Yeah,
it. Yeah.
On-street permit permit, because actually I went and I done some research. The city of Hamilton's significantly big in it, for one. And
Yeah.
if you don't, basically there, if you don't have an on-street parking permit, you're not parking.
Yeah, larger municipalities definitely have it. Caledon recently it's either fully implemented or will be very shortly. They had very similar challenges to what we have in Confederation Heights, where we have, for them it was mostly multi-family homes, multi-generational. And they had people parking on the aprons, parking the wrong way on the road. So they have moved forward with a program to do permit parking in certain areas to see if they can manage the parking, to make sure that each of the homes have an equitable share of what's available on street.
And just one other thing, thank you very much. And then one other thing, cash in lieu. To me, it only creates a problem. It doesn't help alleviate the problem. You were saying no cash in lieu, and you have to take that money and put it towards extra parking spaces. But for what we're charging, it's like, oh, 5,000? I don't know if it's still the figure. It used to be like $5,000. You can buy your way out of it. To me, cash in lieu should be like $50,000. Because we just had a development, for example, on Ormond Street. They came and proposed, you know, parking spaces, and they made it believe that there was only going to be 1.2, and I see you said 0.25. Do you think that's a little underestimate if we're going to ask cash in lieu? I know it's coming down to they want people to use public transit and that stuff, but the removal of ICE vehicles to electric vehicles isn't coming anytime soon. So we need the parking spaces.
But the 2.5 he's talking about is just for visitors.
Yeah, just for visitors.
That's not for the people that actually live in the building.
Right. So through you, Mr. Mayor, the cash in lieu, yes, the value that Thorold is attributed to and is collecting is insignificant in this. I would say you're probably a minimum of 30,000 if you're building surface lots.
Yes.
But if you have to build a parking deck over one of your parking lots to get more capacity, you're probably 70,000 per space.
Okay.
And we've pulled together some of that cost data that staff can look at, but that's really the true number. So the question is, if some of the parcels that you're developing are too small, will the cost of supplying parking on site not allow that development to redevelop? So it can be used as an incentive. You just have to make sure you're pricing it properly, building that reserve. That reserve is locked in for supplying additional parking. But that's, I think, something that council needs to debate and discuss with staff. It is well used by many municipalities. You can only look at Niagara-on-the-Lake. I think they might, don't quote, I think they might be like 70 grand a spot.
Yeah.
But you,
I'm-
And
yeah.
$5.50 an hour just to park your
Yeah.
car.
Yeah.
But that's definitely something we need to look at in the city, and so notice the motion coming soon. Thank you very much, Nick, for your time. Great presentation.
Any other questions? Councillor Decker, go ahead.
Thank you through you, Mr. Mayor. Thanks, Nick, for your presentation. I just wondered at any time when you guys were doing the master plan, did you look at maybe a parking garage somewhere downtown? I know at one point they were thinking about putting it near the book depot on the one side where the parking lot's never used. Did we ever look at doing something like that, or?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, we did not dive into looking at parking structures, but what we did look at is we looked at the parking lots along towpath. So you have the one beside the transit terminal.
Yeah.
So thinking, where would it be smart if you were going to build more parking to try to capture where the development's happening, tie into transit, maybe that'll allow you maybe to use some DC funding. So you have an opportunity on the towpath lots. The problem is we know that's over the old Welland Canal, so you'd have to do some geotech investigation and some of those good things. We also looked at lots 3 and 5 behind the old fire hall, going towards the hydro property. That's quite a large parcel of land. It's depressed as well, so you could, because that's the other thing is if you build up, it's going to become a visual thing as well. So if you're starting in an area that's already depressed, you might be able to get 2 floors without having such a huge sightline impact. You have your old hydro property, or the existing hydro property, not knowing what the future of that is. The problem with the book depot, it's not really centrally located. So when you think about people picking a place, they always look for convenience. Pricing is also the other piece. So that would be the only thing, not that it's a bad location, but that would be my only concern. I think you have to look at 2 or 3 areas, do a proper evaluation, look at the cost of construction, but then also look at the attractiveness. The other thing is even your rear parkings, like improving the laneways that connect people that park behind the buildings out to Front Street, making sure they're clean, well lit, that people feel secure using these spaces. The old, behind the old Fire Hall 1, there's no real connection out to Front Street. So if you park down there, either you got to try to get through the old CIBC property out to the street, or you're going to walk back up to Albert to get around. So if you can improve connectivity in the short term, you're going to get better utilization of the lots you have. But to that, we did look at them, but very, very cursory. And as I said, we've provided costing in the report as to what it would cost you to build such a facility.
Yeah, great, thanks, Nick.
Go ahead, Councillor O'Hare.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you to our presenter. Thanks, Nick. So much information and a hot topic, always. I mean, I get probably more complaints about parking, whether it be downtown or out in the neighborhoods. It's just never going to go away. As you say, it's going to become more challenging. And I do like Councillor Decker's suggestion of maybe we should start investigating a garage downtown, and perhaps, as you yourself mentioned, Nick, behind the old fire hall might be a really good location. But this is something we're going to need to address very shortly. My question is, on your key recommendation, you suggest maintaining the 2-hour on-street parking limit in the downtown. I just want to clarify something too. When you say that, do you include the parking lots as well? So for example, parking lot 4A has a 2-hour limit. So are you referring to that or?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to both the on-street and the parking lots. Again, part of our best practices review, we looked at 11 other municipalities. We looked at things that they were doing, and maybe we called a few as well if we wanted to inquire. What we found on average, 2 hours is the maximum people. There are some places that go higher. The problem is those, like if you take the on-street parking, it's convenience parking. You want to encourage people to pull over, shop, get out of the car, do some business downtown and get back out. If you increase that parking duration, it'll start getting used by tenants and I hate to say it, employees that have a 3-hour shift, 4-hour, whatever. So the idea was that most convenient parking should keep the time short enough that you get the turnover so that convenience is there for as many people. And that's kind of what we saw when we looked across the other municipalities, that everyone felt that, well, there's a bar graph in the report and shows how everyone rated, but that's why we're recommending you stay with the 2 hours. We think it's long enough for people to come downtown, eat, do some shopping, but not long enough that it can get abused by a tenant or employees or people that would tie up those spaces.
Yeah, I can appreciate that answer, but I do want to point out that our downtown is very unique. We have a lot of hair salons, and I'm constantly hearing from the owners of the salons that the 2-hour limit does not satisfy their customer need. Very often the time frame required will be closer to the 3-hour period. So I'm just wondering if maybe we can think this through. Perhaps we can come up with an arrangement. You say that some municipalities do offer the 3-hour limit, but I know we have very many clients who visit the salons who sometimes have to scurry out halfway through because the service that they're receiving is not complete, and then they have to move the car. So I'd really like to ensure that those customers are not simply just catered to, but also given the opportunity to receive their service as needed. So just a thought.
I can comment on this because there's something that people don't understand downtown. Lot 1A is the machine, 2 hours free, you hit standard. If you want to spend 3 or 4 hours, it's $1 an hour after that. So if somebody parks there, which is central to the whole downtown, and the statistics show is only 33% full, then if they want to stay 3 hours, it's costing them $1. So that is already instituted there. And we were also looking at it before when we do that lot, which is the one, I think that would be the one behind Creekview Flower back in there. They were going to do something there as well. Yeah. So then there'd be 2 locations. Yeah. Or you got to walk, but if you parked at the Book Depot, you could stay there for 4 hours if you want. So there is that availability there. It's just that a lot of people don't know about Lot 1A and the machine, and after 2 hours, you only cost you $1.
So, Mr. Mayor, through you, I think this is exactly what Nick mentioned earlier regarding the educational side. This is something maybe we should focus on very soon.
Anyway, I'm going to go back to the questions for the presenter. I just had to comment because I don't think a lot of people realize that you could utilize that parking lot. Go ahead, Ken.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Nick, you were saying a lot of people park on downtown a lot during the winter time and throughout the year. I own a couple of businesses downtown. I'm going to be developing more property downtown. I think a lot of people park down there because they don't know where the parking lots are. There's no signage. Do you think that's the case? And I know 3A, it's terrible. People don't want to park there. They know there's a parking lot there, but my customers goes, I don't want to park there. I don't feel safe there.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, yes, we're in agreement with that. We heard that from the public. And although there, as I said, there's signage there, there isn't really a way for people to find the lots unless you know the area. And so we talked about enhancements in the plan about improving the wayfinding, how you educate people, whether it's signs on the road, whether it's an app. The parking technology also needs to be upgraded, the equipment and things like that. There's a lot more recommendations within the body of the report, but I am in agreement with the statement there. We do need to improve the awareness of where the spaces are and how they can be used. And to the mayor's comments, that was going to be my response. Is there's abilities for people that want to stay an extra hour, so they just need to be communicated so they understand what's available to them. Amenity improvement, making sure the parking lots are safe, they're AODA compliant, they're well lit. People feel comfortable using them at different times of the day. Winter, it gets darker sooner, things like that. So that's important to get proper utilization of all the parking lots.
I agree. I think the property owners downtown, they did their part. Now it's time for the city to catch up and do their part and improve the parking lots downtown, the lighting, the steps coming in. We got to work together, and I want to see that done. And maybe some details on the sign, not just an arrow. Because a lot of my customers come up to me and goes, what is that? And I go, it's a parking lot. They have no clue. So I think I'm glad you put out this study forward. I know it took a long time because you put everything in one study. It would be nice to break it up in two, but it's here now, and I'm glad it's here. And I know there's a lot of businesses downtown that are very frustrated, and we're looking forward to some progress forward. Thank you.
Go ahead, Councillor DeAngelo.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Again, I agree with the education process. I think it's critical. I like the idea of reinstituting the ad hoc committee for downtown. They know what the problems are, and you have to work with those that are using the situation. I'm lucky enough when I go get my haircut, I don't need 3 hours. Mario does it in about 10 minutes, so I'm lucky. But I know others have issues where it takes a little longer, and finding easier solutions and the fact that they understand what's available will go a long way. So I think education's key. I just want to move aside from downtown right now and talk about more of the I'll use Confederation Heights in terms of parking there. And I was going to ask Nick, was any consideration given, and it's part of a planning issue, where the sidewalk is located when we build new subdivisions? Because some of them create aprons, some don't create aprons, some cut off parking spots that should be available. Was any of that looked at when you were looking at Hansler Heights or Port Robinson or Confederation? And I'll give you an example. That's something recently. If you go down Pine Street, they just repaved Pine Street, put new water lines in, and really where they located the sidewalk wasn't the most appropriate spot from the Pine Hotel to Beaver Dams Road. If they would have moved the sidewalk out a little bit towards the road a little bit more, you would have created more parking. And there's absolutely no parking on that street. So what happens now is all the cars on Pine Street go to the side streets. Side streets are very narrow, so you can only really fit one car in there. And I've almost been hit twice by a vehicle just going down Chippewa, just because at night it's very dark, there's people turning. So my concern is sometimes I think we have to do a better job of planning where the sidewalk goes to create more parking spots for the 3 vehicles that people have, so they don't end up on the road. Is that something that was considered in, not necessarily downtown, but the other areas that you looked at?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, these are discussions we did have with city staff about what their practices are in terms of locating the sidewalks, whether they're close enough to the street to discourage apron parking, which, you know, or they're far enough back to allow apron parking. So that idea, longer driveway, shorter driveway. And so we've had the discussion with staff, but it's not a recommendation here. It's what staff's opinions and practices are right now. So they are aware of it, and I think they're working with that.
Okay, I know they're aware. I keep bringing it up every time we have a little subdivision plan coming forward, because I think that's critical of trying to create spots. As you mentioned, I agree 100% with you. Garages are not parking spots. They're storage facilities. So no one parks a car in there, or very rarely. The numbers have to be extremely small. So that was my question. A lot of the other questions have been asked. I really appreciate the fact that you've done an intensive review here, because parking is an issue in our community, and I think we need to look at it more holistically. And I'd like to see, even when we start getting into the subdivisions, is looking at some of the roads. I know new subdivisions, we usually put no parking signs on half the side of it already, but I think we need to look at some of the older parts of our community that have narrow roads and look at that and see how it's actually really working out there. Because if you drive on these roads a lot, and I seem to be on a lot of these little smaller streets, parking is an issue getting around vehicles and for safety purposes. So I'd like to see a bit more review in a phased approach to look at the side streets. You know, you go down Cunningham, you go down Patricia. I mentioned Chippewa, like some of Battle Street. Some of those are really, really small. And if you have parking on both sides, you can't even get a car through. So, and that's just a vehicle. Now you're looking for emergency in terms of fire, EMS. We have to make sure that they have accessibility to get to those that need that service immediately. So to me, that's the importance of narrowing some of the parking standards on the side streets. Thank you.
Thank you.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, if I can just say, in the report, you'll find information on that. We did meet with fire. We did hear their concerns, especially in the older parts of the city where the streets are narrower. And we put forward a policy for consideration on, based on the pavement width, whether parking should be permitted on either side, one side, or both sides. So there's some reading in there that staff's going to move forward and decide how they want to implement that.
Excellent to hear.
Councillor Longo.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you to Mr. Palumba. Great report here. A lot of my questions have been answered. I really like what you've talked about in terms of cash in lieu. That's something that I think we need to investigate further. But I just want to touch on one thing. The Confed area, 36% of homes have 3 or more vehicles, or as Councillor Hanley alluded to, probably for 8 months of the year, it's probably closer to 50%. Now, a little bit in terms of your short-term recommendations, you mentioned something about require 1 space for every 2 tenants above the base rate for rooming house operations. Can you expand on that a little bit?
Sure. Yeah, through you, Mr. Mayor, certainly. So right now, the base rate is two spaces. So what we're suggesting is, in these situations where you have a rooming house or where you have multiple tenants within a single-family home, that we're asking for another space over and above for every 2 tenants that are in there.
Okay, so I'll cut to the chase really quick here. So are we talking about student housing? Are you recommending that we try to implement more parking if residential rental is a student house?
Correct. If someone is renting to multiple tenants, we're suggesting, now, the problem is if they're coming in, getting a permit, and you're aware of it, the requirement that you're going to ask them to prove is that they can supply enough parking for the density they're trying to put in there. And what we've suggested here is a rate that you should be looking at considering implementing additional above that 2 base rate. Because the two base rate is not going to be enough to deal with the situations that we have.
Right, okay. And do you think there could be a way to, housing's required, right? But if there's more cars than the neighborhood could hold, could that be another way to generate city income through a cash in lieu?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, it would generate income, but the premise of cash in lieu is you're putting that money into a reserve to build parking. So you still need to supply that space. You're just taking cash and saying, we, the city, will supply that space. One of the recommendations we have is with the city parks and creating parking at all the city parks. There's discussion about why, but a couple of the reasons are we see people driving to the parks. Thorold's done a tremendous job in building beautiful parks with beautiful amenities, and people drive to some of the parks to utilize the equipment or the other amenities that are there. If we look at South Confederation Park and the usage of that parking lot in the evenings or through the winter months, it provides relief for residents that park on the street to move their vehicles off the road to benefit the snow clearing and the requirement to have the roads clear for winter maintenance. So this idea of parking lots that we've recommended, you have that winter benefit, but I don't know that you want to build parking lots like that and then sell the spaces. I mean, that's an option. I wouldn't be one that I would recommend, but I think that's a challenge. If you take cash in lieu, is saying, we're not going to make you supply the space, we'll take the money and go and supply it somewhere for you. So yeah.
Yeah, and again, I'm just throwing that out there just to try to, because you understand, you're from the area, you understand the circumstance that some communities are in, some neighborhoods are in. So I guess, can I just leave you with one last question? How would you solve the parking in the high rental areas, okay, that affect full-time residents and their ability to park? What's the easiest solution?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I don't have a perfect solution, but I think a few of the pieces are, if you're developing higher density areas, we talk about supplying visitor parking, supplying additional, having the development community supply additional parking, recognizing that. We've talked about doing a pilot program of permit parking. So making sure that all residents on the street get proper usage of the street space and benefit of that. Fixing the areas that are already in place is very difficult other than enforcement. When we looked at all the enforcement records, your bylaw staff do a great job. We brought all of that information into a GIS. We've shown spatially in a heat map, we show where the problems are, where the tickets and infractions, the types of infractions. You have people parking the wrong way, you have people parking on sidewalks. These things are all symptoms of the problem. I think one of the things I've asked, and left it as a recommendation for city staff, is to assess whether or not you have enough horsepower in bylaw to enforce these areas on a frequency that's going to create a deterrent for this bad behavior. Because right now, I think if someone's getting a ticket once every 2 weeks, because Thorold has grown dramatically, you have rolling metals, you have Hansler height. Again, your staff has to take time to travel to go to all these places. So you may have to look at the horsepower that you have within your bylaw enforcement and ensure that you're placing enough effort on that it is a deterrent, and that you're going to get higher compliance from parking. So people may park elsewhere, but you're not going to have that mess, which really is, that mess leads to safety concerns, especially when people are not parking properly on aprons and that. So I do not have a silver bullet, but I think putting policies in place that are going to stop those types of situations from recreating, I think, is one thing. And then I think enforcing and ensuring that people recognize that they can't and shouldn't be doing this. And then the third piece of that is that education. There's Park Right. There's a whole series of programs out there that I think you can address some of the problems. Some of the people that are parking, you're not going to be able to change their behaviors other than through enforcement.
Yeah. Okay.
So,
thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Go ahead, Councillor Didavides.
Thank you, sir. Nick, did your parking study look at multi-generational homes? Because what's going to happen in a lot of these new neighborhoods, and it's happening everywhere in Thorold, there's going to be more than 2 cars. That's just that's real. That's what's going to be happening. Kids are going to be staying home, living there. They're going to have like 4 cars. Some of them might have 5 cars. So parking is going to be a big issue going forward. I just want to know if your study looked towards the future. Like, they're building multi-generational homes. There's homes all over Thorold now that people are putting a little addition onto their back, doing their basement. The kids are moving back. So I think parking is going to be a big, big issue. And I like what you said earlier about making parking near parks. And so I think we have to really look wide on this.
Thank you.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, absolutely. We did talk about that. I think South Niagara Falls, they advertise multi-generational homes. Kids aren't leaving the house. It's too expensive to buy, and so we see them staying longer. They're fully, they're working, they have jobs, they can buy themselves a nice car. So those pressures are there, and that's why we also talked about not reducing the parking rate. There was a question about reducing the residential parking rate, and we're recommending that it stay where it is. But additional units, you have to, if you're going to build an additional unit, you have to build additional parking. Because there's, but again, and then townhomes, build some visitor parking, make that a requirement, generate more parking supply, because the pattern you've talked about, the change in behavior is there, and multi-generational is another part. Like we talked about, people staying low, but yeah, you have parents, grandparents. We see the project that I talked about in Caledon that we did. That was the issue for them, generational. There's just 2 and 3 generations of family living in very big homes, but they're just, even with a double driveway and everything else, there just wasn't enough. Yeah. So I think Thorold will see those pressures. So part of it is the lots, the comment about sidewalk placement, maximize the length of your driveways. We respect that we don't like curb-face sidewalks, and you want street trees and other pieces. So it's a balancing act of, the tools that you have available.
I see it now. People tell me.
Is there any questions?
Yep,
We got to get questions here.
About we don't want to take people to park, not to park on the street, but where are they going to park? So I think we got to find a plan for even the older parts in Thorold, how we can address parking.
And through you, Mr. Mayor, the last comment I'll make on that is you have a lot of municipal facilities. So look at your bylaws. If you can allow for the municipal facility parking lots to be used when they're not in service, that's another, part of the supply. The arena downtown is busy in the winter, but what about the summer, right? And things like that.
Thank you.
Councilor DeRose, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you, Nick, great to see you. Great report. Look forward to seeing you in a soccer field this summer. Nick, one of your key recommendations, the first one is about updating municipal parking lots to AODA standard. And I know you put it 0 to 2 years, so it sounds like it should be done sooner than later. Is there anything that jumps out at you? And I'm more talking centrally located because that's where our meat and potatoes is downtown.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I think if you were to walk around the lots, some of them are in good shape, good level walking surfaces. You have your accessible parking spaces there, and then you have others where it's really, if you look on the east side of downtown, on the east side of Front Street and behind, where the Legion and everything is, that area is a lot more cut up. The pavement's uneven. There might be one accessible space there. So the idea with this is audit them, look at what the overall supply is. There's a certain percentage that should be accessible, make sure they're placed in the best spots. We also talk about working with the development community. If there's an opportunity where they have parking out back and it's surplus, or they're willing to bring it in, where the city would enter a joint use agreement, and then you can reconfigure the area, because when it's a bunch of different owners, you get a very dysfunctional layout. If you bring it all into a pool, you could do a more efficient, get more spacing, and address issues like AODA and walking. And then the alleyways would be the other part, is how do you connect from these parking lots through, and what does the surface look there from an accessibility perspective?
Yeah, great recommendation, Nick. Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay, Nick, thank you for a great presentation. We look forward to getting the final report and working on some of the initiatives that are laid out. I'll now call on Barbie Collins, resident for the delegation on report PWCS 18-2026 Parking Master Plan. Welcome, Barbie.
Good evening, everyone. Mr. Mayor and City Council members, I made it. I really have been waiting about a year to get here, so I'm pretty excited. I'm speaking on behalf of, I'm a business owner. I own the Rockmore Hair Studio downtown for 8.5 years. And I'm speaking on behalf of my customers, the people, the downtown BIA. As you mentioned, there are 6 hair salons right in downtown Thorold, and they do many services take more than 2 hours. That's one issue. But I realize I only have 10 minutes, so I'm going to get down to the most important things of all, and the most important things to me that I'm here. And that's lot 1, 2, and 3. In lot 1, half of it is always empty, because no one knows they're allowed to park there. So many of my clients and people I speak to in the downtown do not realize it's free parking for 2 hours on that side. So I've reached out to get some signage for that, and I believe it is in progress, because there was a motion made to get that done, and hopefully sooner than later, because any minute now we have 2 brand new restaurants opening up downtown, and we're gonna have half a lot that's empty. People that want to park and go to businesses downtown that don't know they can go in that lot for 2 hours. Big, huge issue. It's okay to have recommendations and business plans and things on paper, and that's terrific and it's wonderful. And a lot of those things that I'm thinking and talking about were on those recommendations. But what we need some action, and we need it now. Because when those restaurants open and people start flooding, we're at spring and summer, and people are going to come to the market, and everything's happening, and it's happening now. And the permit side of the lot is great. I'm a permit parker myself. I pay for my permit. But if we could get some signage on the Sullivan side of lot 1, like free parking, in an arrow, like for 2 hours on that side. Permit's fine, but along the the fire hall, the old fire hall that's no longer there, we have signage across that building that says firefighters only, firefighters only, firefighters. So there's like, I don't know how many spots there, but they could be available for permit parkers, but they don't go there because it says firefighters only, and yet there's no more firefighters there. So what I thought, what I feel strongly is needed is just to get that sign on Sullivan side, get those signs down for firefighters because they're no longer here, and most importantly, in Lot 2, the smallest lot of all, lies 2 meters that most of the time do not even work. And people get frustrated because they get scared. They go, what am I supposed to do? My customers come in and go, the machines aren't working. So I'm calling the city, talking to Angela, trying to figure out what do my customers do? Well, they're not going to give tickets today because the meters are broken. And that happens so often. But with the fact that you said you can pay to stay downtown, you can go to those meters, you get 2 hours free, you pay $1 an hour to stay. However, what I'm understanding is you can only do that in Lot 2 only. Like, you can pay all the dollars extra you want to stay, all the extra time you want, like salons can do. My clients, they say, go to Lot 2, pay the toonie, pay the loon, pay whatever to have extra time to come. But you better hope there's a parking spot in Lot 2, because Lot 2 is the only lot that you can do that in. So I'm proposing to say, if people want to go to Lot 2 to the meters, if the meters can't be moved, or new meters can't be made, or honk can't come in, or whatever, what we could do immediately is to allow people to go to Lot 2, get the 2 hours free, pay the extra fee to stay, and be able to park in Lot 1, 2, or 3, wherever they're going. They can pay to stay, but not just in the smallest lot of all. Let it be in perhaps Lot 1 and 2. 3, I wouldn't go near. It needs caution tape because there's so many potholes in it. Nobody can, you're going to need a garage. You're going to have a garage bill after going there. But that's part of the recommendations, is to reconstruct Lot 3, which would be phenomenal. You just got Penny's Kitchen, who just paid thousands of dollars to renovate their place, and One Front is also spending probably thousands of dollars to rent the old Karma Chameleon. Making a new restaurant there. 2 beautiful restaurants sitting there that spent money to be there. They have, what lot do they have? Lot 3? That's embarrassing. We need to, in some way, we need to get that lot done and perhaps maybe put a meter there, or at least allow them to be able to go to Lot 2 to get a ticket, put their plate in, and go to Lot 3 if they're going to Penny's for lunch, or they're going to One Front for dinner, or whatever they're doing. But if they come down and it's only going to get worse, and if Lot 2's full, and that's the only lot you can stay in to pay to stay, you gotta go home. You can't stay in Thorold unless you can only be for 2 hours, whether it be on the street or in the lot. So I didn't even set my timer because I just wanted to make sure that I got in what I needed to say, and I think I did. I just feel that right now, initially, before One Front opens and before Avo and Co. opens, which is going to require, all people are going to be flooding in, because it is a beautiful, the downtown's beautiful. You guys have spent so much money and done so many great things, and it's so great, but it's not great when the people can't park properly. And even the way it is right now, we can fix it by simply putting some proper signage, big signage saying free parking in Lot 1. This is my summary. And allow the people to put their plates in those meters and be able to take that 5 hours or 2 hours extra they paid to have those 4 hours, but allow them to park not in just Lot 2, but allow that to be in Lot 1, because the bylaw has they take the picture, they got the machine, it's all in there, right? So I don't really quite understand how that all works, but I'm assuming if your plate, they take a picture of your plate, it's going to show that you paid. So what difference does it make if it's in Lot 1, 2, or 3? You paid, and it shows that. So you should be able to park closest to where you're going. Does that make sense?
It makes sense, but there's different other systems, which I know the ad hoc parking committee, once it gets up and running, will work on, like the honk system or different system. But the problem is, and it's the same when you go to different areas, if the machine's not in the area where people are parking, they're not going to walk, you know what I mean? They're not going to walk over to lot 2 to do their business. They want a machine in the area where, in lot 1. And I'm not saying that's not doable or there's not another way that we can manage that, because your point is well taken and it makes sense. And signage and communication, those are huge issues. But anyway, I'm going to open the floor for questions. Councillor Sentence, because those are great points.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you.
Oh, I'm
Go
sorry.
ahead.
Now, you are done, right?
I wanted to say one more thing.
Okay, go ahead.
If I could.
Sorry.
Being a salon owner, one of 6 on the street, you know, the 2 hours on the street, I understand to stay 2 hours to buy more time, but right now, at this moment, when these restaurants open and spring is here and it gets busier and busier, they should be able to have an opportunity to pay to stay. Even if it means going to lot 2 to get it. At least they're paying to stay. Otherwise, they're coming out with foil in their head, which is time sensitive, color on their head, like they're running out to their cars trying to figure out what to do, but they can't have, like, even if right now that was changed and they were able to park in lot 1 or 2 or 3 by paying, if that's what they had to do right now, they understand. Like, I've been in business 8.5 years. My clients would just love to be able to say, because they all go to lot 2 and pay to stay, but they got to walk all the way from lot 2. When why can't they be in lot 1? It doesn't make any sense to me, and that's one of the biggest reasons I'm here.
Okay,
Yeah.
good point. Go ahead, Councillor
Sorry,
Sentence.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you. Barbie, thank you for finally making it. I know you've been very frustrated at BIA meetings, but you make some great points. And I know the report isn't on the floor yet, right? So.
No, it's not on the floor yet.
Yeah, so I just
It'll be on the floor as soon as we're done with questions for Barbie.
Yeah, so
Okay.
my question to you is, if we can implement these things and get them going quick, because help is on the way quickly, you think that we can still keep the 2-hour parking but have 3-hour parking in other places that helps everyone, correct?
Yes.
And signage, correct?
Pardon me?
And signage, better signage?
Yes.
Thank you.
Councillor O'Hare, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you to Barbie. Thanks for coming in, Barbie. So a lot of good points. And I'm hoping we'll be able to follow up on a few of them. My question is, would you be open to finding a spot in your salon to hang a city design poster to help educate your clients? Where to park, which parking options would be available? Because you mentioned that some aren't even aware of some of the
That is
options
so
out there.
great. That is a great thing, because you're right. Nobody knows. They just come from God knows where. They may have never been in Thorold in their life. They're like, oh, I don't know. And that's a great idea, to have a plan, right? Yes. I think there should be plans in everybody's business to
That we
show
could
them what
put
to
in all
do.
the business.
Yes.
Right, that's what I'm thinking.
a
Just
great
bring it all
idea.
throughout downtown. Maybe we could have Natalie design it.
That's
So
a
once we,
It's a good point.
okay, thank you.
Anything else?
No, thank you.
Okay, Councillor D'Angelo, you got a question? Go ahead.
I was just gonna, that's an excellent point, but I think there should also be a small brochure that you can hand to your customer, because if they hand it to someone else, it'll get flowing out where you're gonna spread more information. So a poster in a business is great, but I think you also need to do extra flyers. if
Oh,
you're
that's
trying to-
even better. Oh, you guys are good.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, seeing none, I really appreciate you coming, and you brought up some excellent points, and hopefully we'll get some movement on some of these things as we move forward. In short order, right, Barbie?
Quick as possible.
Okay, so now we're gonna put the report on the floor. PWCS 18-2026, can I get a mover and a seconder? I got Councillor Hanley and Councillor Sentence. Okay, we've had a discussion, we've had the, you're done, Barbie, you can sit down now. Thank you. We've had the presentation, and we've had a presenter, Barbie. Now, is there any questions for staff? Go ahead, Councillor Dender.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have a question regarding parking lot 3. Blossom and Bakery, they just opened up a new bakery there. There's potholes everywhere. She got stuck. It's not lit up properly. She's really worried about this. Is there anything we can do to start fixing these problems? And a good friend of mine spent close to $100,000 opening a restaurant, and he's very concerned about that parking lot 3 also. So I just want to know if there's anything going to happen now, because traffic is coming. They've spent a lot of money. Both these are new businesses, and they're very concerned. And it's a trip. To me, it looks like one big liability. Like, because I don't know, how would you defend yourself in court if something happened there? So I want to see something happen fast there and do something. There's gravel there. There's potholes. There's no lines. There's even a safety issue for the girls are telling me. It's pitch dark at night. And I said it before, us business owners and developers, we did our end. We fixed our buildings. We have good properties. We have a beautiful downtown. And now as a city, we have to fix our parking lots. I know we don't want to spend money, but we have to do it now because we spent our money. Now it's your turn to spend yours.
Well, and Councillor, that's the council's decision at budget, how much they want to
Yeah,
spend
but
on
I
these
want to get
parks.
it going.
Because staff puts these projects forward. We're the ones that approve them, and we decide what ones we want to do. So
But-
I'm not going to point the finger at
Oh, no,
staff.
I'm just saying from
Yeah.
the safety issues. There's a
Yeah.
lot of.
No, the safety
there's
issues
a lot
we
of
should be
concerns there.
addressing.
There's potholes there.
Absolutely.
The girls got stuck, their car got stuck there. There's lighting issues.
But there's, I mean, when you look at this and you see we're starting on 5 with detailed design, that's just a small bump. We all know that the work that needs to be done in these parking lots downtown, and that should become a priority.
100%.
And I think that those projects should be prioritized. Obviously, we're not gonna do them all in 1 year.
No.
But anyways, Councillor, did you have any more to say?
Oh, no, I'm good. They just
Councillor
wanted me to
Decker.
say that.
No, it's a good point, well taken. Safety first.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. I'm not sure who to direct this question to, but behind Henderson's, there used to be free parking there in that laneway behind the fire hall where Henderson's is. But I've been advised that now it's permit parking. Is that permit parking for individuals, or is that permit parking for Henderson's only?
That laneway?
Yeah,
That's
there's
part of parking lot 2. That's part of parking lot 2 that you use the machine and then you can put,
So I don't think residents realize that because.
no, I agree, you're right.
Because
Yeah.
there's been a few complaints that people are parking there and they're getting ticketed. And there's nothing telling them, well, I saw a sign on the right.
There
very
is a sign there.
Far right-hand side, but they think it's still free parking behind Henderson. So perhaps maybe, I don't know, maybe Henderson's also needs to put something up saying that it's no longer free parking. But I've had a lot of complaints from residents that now it's, they didn't know it was permit parking. And I didn't realize that that was part of Lot 2 now.
Yeah, it's a part
So
of, it's been part of
it's-
lot 2 ever since we did lot 2.
So it's just confusing for residents, and so I get it. It is confusing,
It is.
so, because there's not a, it's just, some stuff doesn't make sense, so we need to fix that.
Well, signage, communication can be easy first steps, right?
Yeah, so I think that's really important that we
low-hanging
get
fruit,
that
you
out
know.
as soon as possible as well. Thank-
Who else has questions? Or comment on this? Go ahead, Councillor O'Hare.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you, if I may, to Jeff Holman. Jeff, is there any money that has been budgeted that we could utilize to fix up, say, some of these passageways that are really rough? And one in particular that I walk through very often is the one between Lally Homes and Henderson's Pharmacy. It is,
Do you want to comment on that, Sean?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, yes.
That's-
We don't own that property.
I didn't think we did. That's why I wanted.
who owns that property?
Henderson's.
Okay.
Yeah,
All right.
we own the one up further, though. The one that
Okay.
leads to the parking lot, about beside Avo.
Right,
That's
right.
ours.
Which also needs some attention. So is there money in our existing budget to address some of these walkways to parking lots? And there's the other one that was mentioned earlier at the bank further north.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, there's some money dedicated for walkways in that exact issue. We're prioritizing them because there's a bunch in Confederation as well
Okay.
that we need to take care of.
So am I to understand that you're doing an inventory right now to see which ones you're going to address?
Let's say we're prioritizing as opposed to do.
Okay. So will some of that work be done in the summer or soon?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Councillor Sentence, and then Councillor Hanlon.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you to staff and Nick, now we have our marching orders, so staff's been waiting for direction. We've had them get to the BIA, they've come down, they've listened. Now we have these short-term priorities with signage we can do now. We can start these things. Some really good ideas from Barbie on, you know, where you can park and where you can go from there. I think my main thing would be that when we start fixing the parking lots is to pick one on the other side. So we got Henderson's on one side, pick one of the parking lots on the other side and put a machine or two back there so that people can park and stay longer than the 2 hours back there too. So along with just my comments, I would also like to make an amendment to this tonight if I could, to add, I don't know when you want me to do it, to add the downtown parking ad hoc committee.
Get that added here as an amendment.
Okay.
Do you have a seconder for that? I got Councillor Didivitis, okay. We'll get that added, and then do you want to speak to the amendment, or do you want to speak on the whole motion, Councillor Hanlon?
Myself?
Yeah, because I'm
I
going
want
to
to
do
bring
the
three
amendment
motions
first then,
forward.
right?
I want to bring 3 motions forward.
Amendments to this?
Amendments to the parking,
To what's on the screen.
yeah. What are we showing me now?
I'll let.
No, I believe that it's not, what I'm gonna cover isn't on there. We have no recommendations actually in the report, it's just scenarios is what we can do.
Well, you want to bring recommendations, do you want to do that under notice of motion?
Okay, well, all 3 regards and what we just discussed tonight. 3 motions I wish to bring forward in regards to discussion tonight. Like, if you want me to elaborate, one's in regards to signage for the downtown core.
Yeah.
1 motion's forward in regards to Councilor Harris and Councilor DeAngelo's initiative about provide a municipal parking brochure for businesses. And number 3 is a motion to bring forward to add parking meters to possibly lots 1 and 3. So if I have to put notice of motion forward, I will put 3 notice of motion forward.
If you can incorporate that into this report, and then the staff can work on those initiatives, okay? That's not to say they're gonna happen like that, but they're captured, and then staff, are you good with that?
Yes.
And then we can add that to,
The ad hoc committee.
okay? Let's let him get that all up there now. I think those are good recommendations, so why don't we include them in the report, and then they can start working on those initiatives, okay?
Discussion.
Is there any other discussion before we get those up, or any comments? Because then after that, I want to bring this to the floor. Go ahead, Councillor Didivitis.
I just want one question for Jeff. Jeff, you already cut down those signs at the fire hall, right? Those 5 signs? They've been cut down. I just want to let everybody know, because I phoned him and he did it the next day.
Well,
Thank you.
that wasn't part of this, but that's a good point, that's been looked after. You know, there's signs there, because I'll tell you, I come in and I park on the Sullivan Avenue side of Lot 1, and there's signs there. The problem is, I know there's signs there, they're small, but a lot of people don't know there's signs there. That's the problem. The signs are just like, you know, small signs, so I can understand why people don't know that, you know. Anyone else comment while I get this up, and then so that we can deal with this all? Go ahead, Councillor DeAngelo.
Just a comment on one of the amendments regarding the brochure. I think you really need to partner with the BIA with that brochure, not just a city brochure,
Yes.
but working with the BIA. So if you can add that as part of the amendment.
Just, that's a friendly, you're good with friendly, Councillor Hanley? Okay.
Yeah, because I think with that brochure, you could develop a map, you could develop some advertising. I think there's some great potential there to highlight the businesses that are downtown. So
I agree.
That can work out really well.
Okay, let's see if he's got that. So we're going to put these together, and Councillor Sentence and Councillor Hanley will be the mover and the seconder on this. Because then we're going to vote on this before we vote on the whole thing, okay? Yes. I just want to understand that. Okay, go ahead.
The other comment I have, and it sounds like staff is doing this, but I just want to make sure, if they do I'll call it a walkthrough of the parking lots in the downtown area, because there is potholes, but we've just come through a winter session, and I know they need to be repaired. So it's not only parking lot 3, but I believe around the Legion area too, there's some potholes and some road improvements that need some minor attention. So, and I'm sure there's other spots too, so I think a good walk through that area from staff would be very helpful. Last thing we want is someone damaging their vehicle parking.
That's a good point. It is bad back there. Okay.
I can put on, so if we're looking at doing the ad hoc.
They're all together. We
yeah,
got the same mover and
so
second.
we'd be looking at naming 2 council members, I think. So.
Well, do we want to just,
Get it started off, then you can.
let's get this passed, then I'll get you 2 people. I don't know if you want to use the people that are on the BIA or not.
Okay, then we can leave that up.
That downtown ad hoc committee, are you good with using our 2 councillors that are on the BIA to sit on that? Is everybody good with that? Go ahead, Councillor Diaz.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to join that. I bring a lot of history of the downtown area.
Okay, well,
I've
we
been
can
working
have
there
3.
for a long time.
I don't mind having 3.
Okay.
Is everybody good with that? Yes. I'm not telling you that's what you have to do. I mean, I want to make sure you guys are good with that. Okay.
Hold on.
So we got the names. You got
Sentence, Didivitis.
Sentence, Didivitis, and D'Angelo. Okay? We're really making the clerk work tonight. Okay. Okay, here's the original motion. We're going to vote on the amendments, which have been moved and seconded by Councillor Sentence and Councillor... wait. No, I got Hanley. Councillor Sentence and Councillor Hanley. Okay, so that's the ad hoc parking group will be formed for the purpose of working and advising city staff on the forthcoming recommendation reports. And there's the names of the 3 councillors. The staff be directed to work with the Thorold BIA to prepare and distribute municipal parking brochures for distribution. I would say brochures and posters. Okay? You just add in posters, and that staff be directed to review and implement signage improvements. And what was the last one? Staff be directed to report back to council respecting feasibility, financial implications, and expanding paid parking beyond 2 hours in Lot 1. Okay? And that's to look at different ways that we can implement. So those are the amendments. I had a mover and a seconder. Are we good with that? Go ahead, Councillor D'Angelo. Are you commenting on the amendments right now?
Yes.
Go ahead.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mayor. So I'm just wondering, seeing as the busy season is fast approaching, should we put a time frame on this when staff reports back so we know that it's coming back perhaps before the summer?
Well, we can ask them just as staff direction, can you get that here before market opens? Or parts of it. I'm not saying you can get whatever you can get to bring back, and then I know this is loaded. It's way too much to bring back, and this is huge.
4 to 5 can be done.
Yeah, we can do parts of it. Whatever you can bring back, bring back.
You're right, Mr. Mayor. They don't all have to be done at once. There are some things that we can do operationally through our operations budget that will advance.
And the low-hanging fruit, if you can bring that back.
Funding, we can do that.
Okay?
Excellent. Thank you. Thank you so much.
D'Angelo?
I wanted to add another amendment because I wasn't sure exactly what was going up there. Now I see it. Number 8 was I'd like to have refer staff to work on a payment in lieu costing for parking spots, because it's sort of part of the report. We talked about this, of increasing it to the value, not just a low nominal fee, but an actual cost of what it would cost for additional parking spots for development. So if that could be put on as number 8, as just referring it to staff to do some work on that and come back to council at the appropriate time. I don't want to see that lost, because we had a good discussion on that. I know Councillor Hanley brought it up, Councillor Longo brought it up. I think it's an important thing that we really need to have some work done on.
To review and report back on the parking in lieu. Okay.
Thank you,
And
Mr. Mayor.
you are still gonna take that as a friendly? Okay, so now we got okay, everybody good? Okay, so right now, go ahead, Councillor DeRose.
Can I add one thing to Councillor DeAngelo's number 8, if he doesn't mind? Just about, just reviewing about contracting out parking enforcement for downtown specifically.
In what respect is that?
Well,
that would be I would
when
say.
Nick was presenting, he said the horsepower is just not there to cover everything.
Well, that can come back when we
Okay,
do that.
I'll bring that up at a future meeting.
Yeah,
Okay.
I don't want that to be part of this.
Okay.
Okay? Okay, so we got 4 to 8, the amendments. All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. Now we got the whole report, okay, as amended, 1 through 8.
Same movers, or?
Same mover and seconder, okay? All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. And not to lose that, but that, I don't think that needs to be.
Yeah, it
correct.
doesn't fit here, you're right.
Okay. Okay. Now we're gonna move on to, consent items. We got items 11-1 to 11-3. Can I get a mover and seconder for these? I got Councillor Ditavitas and Councillor DeRose. Does anyone want to pull or speak on any of these 3? Go ahead, Councillor DeAngelo.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just want to speak on 11-1.
Okay. Anyone else? Okay, so 11-1, we're gonna take these together, but you're gonna speak on 11-1, so go ahead, Councillor DeAngelo.
Yeah, like I said, good news stuff always gets sort of dumped into a report, and it's on page 3. But this is something I wanted to commend Ms. Morrow specifically. This goes back to the NHL's healthcare complex tax rates. This was developed back when myself and Councillor Hanley were on council back in 2008-9 timeframe, is where we developed the payment for the donation for the hospital.
Yeah.
And what we did is we did that over time and tied it into our growth assessment, so that it wasn't the taxpayers of 2010-11 that just paid for that donation. It's been the taxpayers over the last basically 18 years, which it has been going down systematically as we go through that. And then even at the end, because of supplemental tax assessments, the levy is normally $298,000. This year, it's only $118,000. 180 came from supplemental. Again, to me, this is a prudent financial management of funds over a time period. And again, our little city always gets sort of wants to be amalgamated. And it's things like this that make a difference in how you manage your municipality. And I want to give credit to Ms. Morrow. She was Director of Finance back then, and it was a great decision with council bringing that forward and how they did it. And now this is our final year of that payment. And as we move forward, we have no more payments for that donation for the hospital. And all the residents of Thorold have been using it over the last 18 years, if my math is wrong, or 16 years. So to me, that's an important component of showing how we do things here in Thorold that are sometimes a little better than others because we think outside the box. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Okay, so we've got the 1 to 3. I got a mover and a seconder. All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. So now we are going on to items for consideration. DF4 2026 Water and Urban Service Area Budgets. Can I get a mover and a seconder for this, please? I got Councillor DeAngelo and Councillor Sentence. Okay. We've seen the report, and we know there's great news in this report. Does anyone want to comment on this report? Okay. Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? That is carried, and this is a great report and great news for the tax. See?
Well done.
Well, so we're all saying, well done. This is great news for the taxpayer, and because we know the rate freeze. Do you want to comment further on that, Maria? Because I think.
Yeah, sure, Mr. Mayor. I just had some brief highlights on the main drivers when you do water and sewer budget, and the biggest one is always the water and sewer treatment costs from the region. You look at both their budgetary increases and what the treatment flow volumes are. There was a comment made during the presentation about infiltration. I remember when I started many years ago, I think for every gallon of water that we purchased, I think at that point we treated 2.2 to 2.5 gallons of sewage. We have made some progress, but we still have a ways to go. I think right as of last year, for every gallon of water that we purchased, the region had to treat 1.58 gallons. So if you do make some headway in terms of infiltration, you will save money on the operating of the treatment. We look at your capital provisions to maintain the infrastructure. We've got maintenance, and this year we did see some increases in revenues stemming from higher number of customers and the resultant higher consumption. So we were able to hold the line this year with rates frozen at 2025 levels for this year, and there are a number of fees and charges that have been recommended to be increased to recoup the costs.
Okay, thank you. And we've already voted on it. It was moved in second, but I did want to give you a chance to speak on it because it is great news. So, okay. PWCS 16-2026 Tender Award, Battle of Beaver Dams Park Splash Pad. Can I get a mover and a seconder? I got Councillor Longo and Councillor Hanley, and Jeff's here to answer any questions. This is another great news story as far as I'm concerned. Go ahead, Councillor Hanley.
Yeah, I just wanted to say it's great. It's long. I actually, when I looked at it and seen how much the splash pad was, I was actually on council when we put our first splash pad in. Tell you the truth, me and Bob Castman at the time, we went to Hamilton, Ontario to see what they had there. We had our first one. I think we did it for $50,000. So, so.
How long ago was that?
And that was at Sullivan Park when we done the Freddie McNamara Sullivan Park Restoration Committee thing, and Mal Woodhouse was mayor, and that's going back to the 90s. But it's great to see. It's a great addition to downtown. I don't know how many people have told me that live in the buildings, and we've been out doing some charity work and that stuff, and the families that I've seen out there, and how many have said to me, when are they going to get a splash pad here in the park? So it's great addition to our downtown, like as mentioned by the lady here that's been 8.5 years at Salon, what we've done downtown, the parking, the park, Front Street renovations. It's another great addition to downtown. It's only going to make the market and that stuff much more successful as it's already been the last 3 years.
Very good.
Great addition.
Councillor Decker.
Thank you through you, Mr. Mayor. This makes me extremely happy. I'm so happy that we're putting the splash pad there. If it gets moved tonight, when will it begin?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, it usually takes our contractors 2-3 weeks to get started.
So potentially they could be splishing and splashing during the market, maybe, perhaps.
John,
this year?
Yeah.
John, say.
I believe they'll be during the market. Probably not going to make Canada Day.
Oh, okay. Awesome. Thanks, John.
Okay, anyone else? Okay, go ahead, Councillor Diange.
Yeah, that was the question I was going to ask. When will we have an opening where the children are just playing through it? So it sounds like it's shortly after Canada Day.
Well, you know what we'll do in the meantime? We'll get the fire truck there with the spray, okay?
And it's the other comment, it's in a great location too. It's sort of fitting that's over the old canal where people used to swim in the old canal. Now they get to splash on top of the old canal. So great location. It's going to be a wonderful addition to our downtown area. Thank you.
Go ahead.
I just had a comment. It's great to see this happening. Everybody wanted it, and that park is so used. Like today, there were so many kids there, and there's so many families around their apartment buildings with kids who really need this. So it's a great feel-good story, and we have the best park. I always say it over and over. Battle of Beaver Dams Park is the best, right beside downtown, and it's going to make this summer cool.
Okay, we had a mover and a seconder. All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. 12.4, PWCS 17-2026 Digital Community Sign Policy. Can I get a mover and a seconder? Councillor Decker and Councillor O'Hare. Jeff's here to answer any questions. Are there any questions for staff? Go ahead, Councillor Sens.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you, I just have a question that was posed to me today on, now that we have this in place, will there be things like getting old information down sooner? I guess there's some stuff up there still from the winter, and will there be a process to get things up quicker now that we have something in place?
That's true, Mr. Mayor. With the policy in place, we'll be able to get some programmed communications online. We'll be able to use it to communicate to the public when we have things like special events or free parking or that type of thing, or help to direct people to help us with wayfinding and things like that. So the short answer is yes, we hope to be able to put some information on the screen very soon.
Thank you.
Okay, go ahead, Councillor D'Angelo.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. No, I'm very appreciative of staff coming forward with this. I did have a couple questions from residents about when some of that stuff's going to change and what they can put on there. So it's great that we have a bit of a reference plan of what goes on there or for the eligible content. The only question I had is part of the eligible content, it talks about events hosted by registered charities, not-profit organization, community groups, and service clubs. Should we not have it mandated so it's in Thorold, the event, as opposed to others advertising for events outside of Thorold? It doesn't really, when I read through the content here, it didn't really specifically say Thorold. And I think if it's going to be in Thorold, it should be for Thorold events. Even if the registered charities from outside, but they're hosting the event in Thorold, I'm okay with that. But I think it has to be in Thorold as opposed to hosting it outside of our community.
Yeah, okay. Duly noted.
Is that an amendment that could be made to the?
Through Mr. Mayor, yeah, I would recommend that that it be added to the motion.
Get captured. Okay, you're going to move that, and you're going to second that?
No, I was going to make a comment on that, if I can.
Go ahead.
I'd like to see that, but if we can somehow, if there's special circumstances come up, like Shaver does something or Brock does something, we allow some signage, because we have some big partners beside us, and I don't want to say, no, that's it, but I want some flexibility there, just in case.
Yeah. How do you want to handle that? It's a good point, because we run, there's, I'll give you an example. The Children's Center, they do that event in the month of March, and one of their biggest fundraisers is in Thorold, but it's not the whole encompassing thing of their event.
So if we can use our judgment, like
I would say staff discretion. Is that, are we good with that? Yes. I think we have to have some latitude here, but our focus is Thorold with staff discretion. How's that? Because some of that stuff is going to involve Thorold, but the group is a Niagara group.
I agree 100%.
You know, Ronald McDonald House is another example. You know, okay?
So is that still an amendment, or are we just staff using discretion?
I would say, is that staff direction? Staff direction, or you?
Yeah, I understand what we're trying to do there, and I mean, it's all about informing and educating the community, right? And but I think there's enough capacity to handle some larger scale events, but we really want to focus the information to Thorold residents.
But it is going to be Thorold focused. Yeah, it's going. Go ahead, Councillor Dan.
Well, I would say make it an amendment where it says in Thorold with staff discretion next to it. Just that way, again, based on the availability time of what the event's going to go on, it gives staff the opportunity to do that. So if it's not in there, then anyone that's having an event outside of Thorold can technically ask to put it up there, and staff is going to have to say yes.
What? What was staff discretion? Do we have a seconder for the amendment? Councillor Thorold. So we're voting on the amendment, then we vote on the whole thing. The amendment is, and you want to read the amendment just so everybody's good.
Okay, so through you, Mr. Mayor, so the amendment is there, bolded and italicized, just simply adding that an amendment be added to the policy so that the events that are displayed be based in Thorold with staff retaining some discretion.
Are we good with that, everybody? Okay, that's on that amendment. All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried on the whole report. All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. Okay. Where am I now? Notice of motion. Any notice of motion? Go ahead, Councillor O'Hare.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you, I'd like to bring a motion regarding Pride Month to our next meeting.
Anyone else? Go ahead, Councillor Thorold.
Yeah, through you, Mr. Mayor, I'd like to bring a notice of motion forward in discussing establishing a mental health and addictions advisory committee in Thorold. Thank you.
Okay, you're gonna work with this clerk on those? Okay, now, motions. I got Councillor Didavitis, you have two. First one is recognize contributions of Fred Neal. Go ahead.
Okay, yep.
And do you have a seconder? Councillor Decker, go ahead.
Whereas Fred Neal is a longtime resident of the city of Thorold who, for over 30 years, has made numerous positive contributions to the community in a variety of roles, including as a city council. And whereas Mr. Neal, through his many years of service, has made specific contributions to healthcare leadership, serving for over 25 years on Hotel Dieu Shaver Hospital Board, city building environmental projects, including development of Mel Swartz Park and the Lower Seacourt Trail, along with his Indigenous cultural initiatives, including the initiation of the Indigenous Task Force, which strengthened the city's collaboration with Indigenous communities. Now therefore be resolved that the corporation of the city of Thorold enacts as follows: that Fred Neal be invited to a future council meeting for the purpose of receiving an official certificate from the city of Thorold, and the staff be directed to report back to council on the feasibility and financial costs of installing a recognition plaque at Mel Swartz Park in honor of Mr. Fred Neal.
Okay, do you have anything else to say?
I just want to say this is an outstanding person in our community. His commitment and love for Thorold is unbelievable. He's still on 10 committees. He brought forward maybe 20 projects, and it's unbelievable that his dedication to Thorold. And I think this is a great thing for Thorold to be proud of a gentleman like this in our community.
Thank you. Anyone else have? Go ahead, Councillor Sentence.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll support this 100%. Great guy, great counselor. I would also, we are, along with this, we are doing our dedication to citizens coming up. So this is where I pictured people like that being in. So, but I'll support this tonight. Thank you.
Go ahead, Councillor Decker.
Thank you, through you, Mr. Mayor. I just want, I don't know if Councillor Didavitis would put this in here, but just so people know that Fred Neal was also a founding member, an original founding member of the TCAG in Thorold here. So he was one of the original board members. So I think that's really important that people know that as well.
That's a good point. Yeah, and that can be included in presentation. Like, you know, when we read it, like we did for Walter. Go ahead, Councillor O'Hare.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll support this completely. Fred Neal was the first councillor that I met when I moved to Thorold, and he was all ears, open, inviting, supportive, and I still respect him to this day. So it's a wonderful achievement that he's reached in his lifetime, through his lifetime, and he deserves all the credit that we want to pass on to him. So
calls me on a regular basis to keep me on my toes.
Good. Someone's got to do it.
Anyone else? Okay, so we had a mover and a seconder. All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. Number 2, go ahead, Councillor.
Thank you.
Dinwiddie.
Whereas the
To support housing development through exploration of the Canada-Ontario Partnership to Build. Do you have a seconder for that, Councillor O'Hare? Go ahead.
Whereas the province of Ontario has identified increasing housing supply as a provincial priority and has introduced new incentives, including Canada-Ontario Partnership to Build, the COPB, to support construction of new homes. And whereas the development industry is currently facing challenging economics conditions, which may impact the viability and the timing of new housing projects. And whereas the municipality rely on development charges to fund critical infrastructure and services required to support growth, and seeking to encourage development while ensuring they do not forego necessary growth-related revenues. And therefore, be it resolved that the Corporation of the City of Thorold enacts as follows. The staff be directed to review the recent announced COPB, including its potential implications in development charges, revenues, and local housing development. And the staff be directed to report back to council on whether the city may participate or benefit from the COPB as a way to balance the need to support housing development while maintaining sustainable infrastructure funding.
Thank you. Do you have a comment?
Yeah, when I first brought this to council, I didn't know the government was going to do this, but I saw the need from talking to people in our community, developers, and every municipality has a little bit to play in this. This is all hands on deck now. And when you're talking construction, you're talking painters, HVAC guys, plumbers, roofers. There's so many things, and then they spend money in stores and help our Thorold downtown, help the whole Niagara region. So what I'm doing here is looking how we can tap into this $8 billion and get ahead of other municipalities. And the timing was just perfect. And I spoke to Brian and the clerk, so I want to get ahead of this and see what we can do as a municipality to get this ball rolling.
Thank you. And if I'm not mistaken, Brian, you're working on this to get the details of the legislation. Am I correct, to see how it fits for us and what opportunities are there? Because obviously, if you reduce DCs, are they making us whole? Those are the type of questions that we need the answers for.
Yeah, through you, Mr. Mayor, we're trying to learn all of the proposed concepts that they've included, but it looks like the intent is to make the municipality whole if you reduce DCs by 50% over 3 years. So it sounds promising. We just need to find out exactly how you become a participant.
And
That's
with
not
this,
clear.
you'll be reporting back once you get all those details, okay? So it's a good time to do that and work with our building group. Okay, is there anyone else with a comment on that? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. Okay, statement by councillors. I have Councillor Hanley and then Councillor DeAngelo. Go ahead, Councillor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, I just wanted to make note of, as you already mentioned there, the fertilizer on April 17th, 18th, 19th with the Knights of Columbus. But on Thursday nights, the second Thursday of every month, they have the beef in the bun. And to let the public know that a significant amount of the funds that they raise in there actually going to helping the needy. Albert Chamara holds a food bank there at the Knights of Columbus available to the public, so it's a great event. I attended the Easter egg hunt at Maryville Speedway on April the 4th. There was approximately 2,000 children, they said. I was there early in the morning. They were lined up right to the highway, the people along the parking. And just to let council aware that this weekend, the 75th year of Maryville Speedway begins. So if you want to get out and support the cause and support the 50-50, which helps Branch 17, Station 1, Station 2, Station 3,
So
and 5.
When they do this, they're doing a 75th anniversary night. I'll be presenting them with a certificate, so we'll get all the council out to the
Okay.
track.
And as a little side note, if you want, I've been nominated this year to be part of the Wall of Fame.
Oh.
Whether that's going to happen or not, I was an announcer for 14 years and involved since the 70s. And also I attended the YMCA Kids Day on April the 11th. I was down at the Parkway Lanes bowling with kids. and doing some talking with Christian and actually, and we're looking at, somebody maybe, we've been in discussions about having a day camp, maybe return to Thorold in the YMCA. People will not be aware, but there was one back when I was a member of the YMCA in the 70s, 1974. I looked at a certificate I had, and the land's still there today, vacant, where they used to hold the YMCA day camp at one time in Beechwood Road. So I'm in coordination with Christian, and we're trying to get a hold of the owner and see if we can make something come to fruition. And they presently have a daycare going at Our Lady of Holy Rosary School too in Thorold. So the YMCA is active in Thorold. I know that's where the TCAG came from after they dissolved themselves in Thorold, but they are coming back into the community. And you mentioned about the food drive on the thing. I was actually there with Ken Smoke on Thursday, and we bagged all the groceries in the back room for the drive that they had on Saturday. So just some insight as to my involvement and happenings in the community the last couple of weeks.
Thank you. And Councillor D'Angelo, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Again, with the Garden Fest, but I know you touched on it. I know you also touched on it. But I just want to remind people, there's also a bottle drive, food collection for community care, and also a 50-50 draw. So come on out. But the other component I wanted to mention was the Thorold Garden Club. They're going to have a booth there from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. Again, they're promoting their sunflower and pumpkin growing contest, so they're going to have seeds available there. As many of the community members out as possible to participate in this. So they've partnered with the Knights of Columbus. So it's a great, that's one thing I wanted to mention. We have great community groups that work together to promote each other's events and to get intermingled with each other on these events. So again, the Thorold Garden Club and the Knights of Columbus are working together on this. So I appreciate that. And if you want myself or Councillor DeRose to bag some of the compost, just let us know. We'll be there. We've been there probably the last 5 years doing different things, helping out the weekend festivities and trying to help raise funds for the local charities. So that was the Knights of Columbus Garden Fest. The other item, Mr. Mayor, I'm sort of putting out a bit of a challenge here. Canada Mental Health Niagara is having their a major fundraiser, and it's going to be held here in Thorold at the Ovation Ballroom on Edgarton Road, 1311 in Thorold. It's their second year coming to Thorold. It's, again, their major fundraiser. I'm challenging everyone. I bought a table myself, and I hope other councillors can attend. It's going to be May 7th, so it's coming up. It's just around the corner. It's if you've never been to one, it's a paddle party. It's using toonies, and you raise funds through that, and there's some great prizes. So hopefully many other councillors could join me that evening, because it is a great event, and it goes to a great organization, which is Canada Mental Health Association, and it's the Niagara branch here. And then the last item, I just wanted to make a comment. I really want to give kudos to our staff. One of the things that I always find a bit frustrating is we have people from outside our community coming in and plopping signs all over the place. Businesses that shouldn't be just putting stuff on city property. You know, they're even in front of some of the bus stops where we actually have people paying for ads in front of it. So it does a disservice to all the businesses that legitimately pay for advertising in our community. They're just putting stuff all over the place. They're creating sightline issues. They're even getting somewhat creative and putting them high on hydro poles, causing health risks for those that are installing these. So again, I know our staff went out. They took over 300 of these signs down. They've issued fines so that these organizations know that they can't just plop signs down, because it really hurts our organizations. And I use the Garden Fest, for example. They have their signs out right now in the corners. They don't need to compete with 4 other signs selling windows, siding, doors, and everything else. We need to be helping our own Thorold community groups. So again, kudos to staff for doing that. I know there's still more signs out there. Maybe at the next meeting, I'll bring a notice to motion forward that we look at somehow letting individuals, my thought process was if we could have something on the website where individuals could send a quick message of where a sign is, and it helps staff then do a collection of them at the appropriate time. So just, again, staff did a wonderful job on this. They got them down really quickly, so I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so now, closed session. Before I ask for a mover and a seconder to go into closed session, I would like to remind you of your obligations respecting closed session. Those who are participating in the closed session must ensure that no other person is in the location from which they are taking part in the meeting, or make appropriate arrangements so that any other persons cannot see or hear any of the confidential deliberations taking place. If this is not possible, you must withdraw from the meeting until it is reconvened in open session. Council staff and everyone present during closed session have an obligation to ensure that what is discussed in closed session is kept confidential. And I'll get you to put up why we're going to closed session, and can you read that? And then we'll get a mover in a second.
The council do not move into closed session to receive confidential information respecting, item 1, a matter respecting litigation or potential litigation, including matters before administrative tribunals affecting the municipality or local board under Section 239(2)E of the Municipal Act, and advice that is subject to solicitor-client privilege, including communications necessary for that purpose under Section 239(2)F of the Municipal Act, and a position, plan, procedure, criteria, or instruction to be applied to any negotiations carried on or to be carried on by or on behalf of the municipality or local board under Section 239(2)K of the Municipal Act. Confidential legal advice regarding a compensation claim and potential litigation. Number 2, a matter respecting proposed or pending acquisition or disposition of land by the municipality or local board under Section 239(2)C of the Municipal Act, and a position, plan, procedure, criteria, or instruction to be applied to any negotiations carried on or to be carried on by or on behalf of the community or municipality or local board under Section 239(2)K of the Municipal Act, proposed disposition and market price discussion for Kiefer Mansion.
Okay, can I get a mover and a seconder to go into closed session? Councillor Dedavidas and Councillor Sentence. All those in favor?